To build a mecha, my secret stash was exposed by my wife. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 126 The Regretful Father and Daughter of Maki. From now on, your allowance is gone. You have to report to me and get my approval before you can buy anything. Dad, what about the Maserati and the Birkin bag? Hearing her father's words, Majin quickly asked. Majin's words pained Maji deeply. Even at this point, his daughter was still only concerned about his luxury goods. None of them. After saying that, Maji headed towards Suzette and Gao Luofei with a fawning and humble expression. Regardless of whether Suzette and Gao Luofei forgave him or not, Maji had to take action. Otherwise, if this got out, those who disliked him would definitely use it to their advantage, trying to suppress him and curry favor with Suzette. You said you came to shop, so you should have come properly. We at Hermes would have treated you two with the utmost respect, but instead, you did this. Was what I said a bit too much? I hope Suzette won't mind. At this moment, the person who felt most innocent was Josenai. All her actions were actually in accordance with Hermes rules. Although there were some inconsistencies, she had no intention of deliberately making things difficult for Suzette. Meanwhile, in Josenai's heart, she hated Maji and his daughter Majin to the core. The root of everything lay with his father and daughter. If it weren't for them, this wouldn't have happened. Security, escort them out. Seeing that Maji and Majin were still trying to greet Suzette, Josenai, fearing they might do something else, immediately ordered security to take them away. However, when she said escort, Josenai's tone was very firm. Everyone was shrewd and naturally understood what Josenai meant. I am your VIP, you can't treat me like this, let me go. Amidst Maji and Majin's shouts, the two were very politely escorted out. Although the matter was complicated, after calming herself down, as the president of Hermes, Josenai naturally had to face the current situation. Taking a deep breath to calm her complicated emotions, Josenai made her way through the crowd towards the counter where Suzette and Gao Luofei were. Since they had already been recognized, Suzette stopped using the candle dragon. After deactivating it, the two appeared in everyone's sight. Now, Suzette and Gao Luofei's identities were beyond doubt. Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, I'm so sorry for treating you that way earlier. Suzette and Gao Luofei weren't unreasonable people. Seeing Josenai's sincere apology, they waved their hands to indicate they didn't mind. Josenai breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing that Suzette and Gao Luofei truly didn't mind. However, while Suzette didn't say anything, Josenai couldn't simply do nothing. Josenai quickly said to Suzette, Mr. Su, don't worry, I have a general understanding of what happened today and know the situation. The store manager and Molly will be fired today. As for Maji and Majin, I have already reported to the company. From now on, they will be blacklisted by Hermes and will never be allowed to set foot there again. At the same time, I will also request that the company share this information with other companies in the same industry, and they will also be blacklisted. Although Suzette didn't say anything about Josenai's arrangements, this was the best response he could give her. Now that Suzette and Gao Luofei's identities had been exposed, although Suzette still didn't know the pin for the diamond black card, he could use facial recognition. From then on, the Hermes Birkin bag that Gao Luofei had her eye on was also acquired by Gao Luofei. After completing this task, Bingbin didn't forget her mission and said, the diamond black card has a 5 million yuan credit limit. Since you, Fifei, were unaware of this beforehand, this is considered part of Suzette's secret stash. Therefore, Suzette's total secret stash has increased by 5 million yuan. Although 5 million yuan is insignificant compared to the enormous amount of secret stash Suzette had already been discovered to possess, just a small fraction, rules are rules and still indispensable. After Gao Luofei bought a Hermes Birkin bag she desired, Josenai saw Suzette and Gao Luofei off. However, on the way, Suzette and Gao Luofei saw Maji, looking flustered and obsequious, approaching Suzette with Majin, whose cheek was swollen on one side. Maji understood that he had no right to get close to Suzette and wisely kept his distance. Using a fawning tone, He said to Suzette, "President Sue, I know my daughter and I were wrong today. I've already taught Kyankian a lesson. Please, be magnanimous and let us go. My company is really going bankrupt, President Ma, I think you've got it wrong. I didn't send anyone to target your company." Although Suzette didn't mind, he was being filmed and couldn't leave a bad impression. Yes, Suzette hadn't made any arrangements. However, what happened in the live stream today had already been known to many people following Yaoli Glass Group. When they learned of Maji's actions, they immediately took action. Before, they couldn't act without a pretext, but now that they had an excuse, they naturally wouldn't let Maji off the hook. Sure enough, in just 10 minutes, Maji received over a dozen calls. The content of the calls was roughly the same, all urging Maji to repay the money. If he had the money, it would be fine, but Maji didn't have that much in his account. Previously, these people thought Maji might have reached a cooperation agreement with Yaoli Glass Group, and they could indirectly benefit from it. But now that Maji has thoroughly offended Suzette, cooperation is impossible, so Suzette is no longer afraid of offending Maji. Suzette ignored Maji's pleas. Guoan and his group cleared a path, and Suzette and Gao Luofei left from there. Suzette then continued his journey with Gao Luofei. Chapter 127 We are more important to them than ourselves. At this moment, in a corner of a building opposite the shopping plaza in the center of the city, a man with an expressionless face lay on the ground, staring at his phone. The screen displayed the events that had just transpired. This man was none other than the escaped Black Hand. The escaped Black Hand was extremely unwilling to accept defeat, never expecting to be caught here. Therefore, he returned to the predetermined location. Beside Black Hand, besides an open violin case that contained nothing, was a fully assembled and tested Barrett sniper rifle with a gleaming black exterior. The Barrett was aimed at the entrance to the Hermes section of the shopping plaza, where Suzette and Gao Luofei were located. Black Hand was one of America's top snipers, capable of hitting his target every time within a kilometer. He couldn't kill Suzette, as the mission was to capture him alive. However, there was no stipulation that Gao Luofei couldn't be moved, so Black Hand planned to shoot Gao Luofei as Suzette and Gao Luofei passed by, giving Suzette a severe lesson. This was meant to make Suzette understand that Black Hand wouldn't let things go, and also to make Suzette suffer because of Gao Luofei. Black Hand knew the terrain here perfectly well. Once he fired, he didn't need to worry about hitting the target. He could simply pack up his weapon and run. As for the frantic search by the security department and the military, Black Hand was very confident he could escape safely. Everything was ready, all that was needed was for Gao Luofei and Suzette to show up. However, just as Black Hand was about to act, Black Hand, who had been observing the live stream, froze. Although he had indeed suffered a great loss with the Candle Dragon system before, Black Hand's thinking was similar to most people's. The fact that Candle Dragon could be shrunk and installed in a Maserati Quattroport was already its limit, it couldn't possibly shrink any further. But unexpectedly, Black Hand, watching the live stream, realized he might have been wrong. After witnessing the events unfolding in the live stream, Black Hand withdrew his finger from the Barrett trigger. Yes, Black Hand, gave up. To be honest, Black Hand was indeed unwilling, but that didn't mean he was brainless. Although the true identities of Suzette and Gao Luofei had been revealed, who could guarantee that they would be their real selves later? If Black Hand mistakenly fired a Barrett at a virtual image, not only would he gain nothing, but he would also needlessly expose his current location. This was unacceptable to Black Hand. The cost-benefit ratio was simply too low. Meanwhile, having witnessed the power of the Candle Dragon, Black Hand disassembled the Barrett and put it back into the violin case. Disguised as a middle-aged musician, Black Hand picked up his phone and dialed his personal communicator. "Boss, I have urgent news to report." Just as Black Hand was reporting the new findings to his superior, Johnson, he was unaware that behind his shoulder, a small machine reflected a faint glow in the sunlight. Anyone familiar with such devices would immediately recognize it as the Skynet tracking camera that had just killed the American spy yesterday, leading to the downfall of the fallen angels. Black Hand has cancelled the mission, Roger. Meanwhile, Black Hand's situation was relayed to Guoan and Suzette. In fact, although Black Hand had escaped from the beginning, he had been tracked by the Skynet system carried by the Maserati Quattroport. The reason for not capturing Black Hand was a decision made by Suzette and Guoan. Rather than capturing Black Hand and having Johnson send another group of agents to try and take Suzel away to obtain the technology they wanted, it was far more troublesome, requiring constant vigilance. It would be better not to deal with the mastermind immediately, but instead keep track of all their movements. No matter what they do, they can be informed immediately and prepare accordingly. This mastermind is actually quite intelligent. They stopped at the crucial moment, otherwise that old man Johnson would have sent more people. Honey, didn't you notify team leader Guo and the others? For safety and to ensure a smooth shopping trip, Gao Luofei and Suze were using Candle Dragon again, creating two different male and female avatars, completely different from the previous ones. Gao Luofei looked at herself and Suzette, heavily protected by Guo and his group not far behind her, and said to Suzette. Behind them, Guo, like the other members of the security department, maintained a serious expression, methodically scanning their surroundings. If anything seemed amiss, the group would immediately surround Suzette and Gao Luofei. Gao Luofei knew very well how tiring it was to maintain a constant state of alertness. It was mentally exhausting. Seeing Guo and the others still working so hard, the beautiful and kind-hearted Gao Luofei couldn't bear to see her and Suzette having so much fun while Guo and his group were toiling away. Hearing Gao Luofei's words, Suzette said to her, "Fifei, I've already notified them, then why are they still?" Suzette's words surprised Gao Luofei greatly. Since Guo and his group already knew that it was just their virtual avatars, even if something happened, she and Suzette wouldn't be harmed in the slightest. So why were Guo and his group still so vigilant? Responsibility. Suzette's two simple words contained many layers of meaning. Yes, they were doing this simply to protect the real Suzette and Gao Luofei's safety. And the reason they did this was because, in their hearts, the safety of Suzette and Gao Luofei was more important than their own lives combined. Chapter 128 7-Star Hotel, Dingtai Hotel. For someone from a military family like Gao Luofei's, the word responsibility held a far deeper meaning than Suzette's. When Gao Luofei was very young, she secretly overheard her mother sobbing as she recounted how her father had fought on the front lines, risking his life to rescue classified military documents from enemy fire. At the time, Gao Luofei was too young to understand the significance, only vaguely knowing that her father had done something extraordinary. As she grew older and more sensible, she realized just how dangerous her father's ordeal had been. She had almost lost him forever. Because of this, Gao Luofei had a profound understanding of the word responsibility. Similarly, Gao Luofei understood something crucial. The reason Guo and the others were protecting the two so diligently was simply because of her relationship with Suzette. If she weren't Suzette's wife, even as Gao Yuanshan's daughter, she wouldn't receive such preferential protection. All of this was solely because of Suzette. After the program Finding Hidden Money aired yesterday, Gao Luofei finally understood what kind of technological monster and research genius Suzette, who had shared a bed with her for a year, truly was. From the initial humanoid Mecha that saved dozens of people in a vehicle, to the Skynet camera that killed a US spy and protected military technology talent Marui, and then the Zhaowu that crushed many well-known car manufacturers worldwide, to today's Zhulin, from large to small, he achieved one incredible breakthrough after another. In just 2 days, 4 epoch-making technologies were revealed. Although she didn't know how many technologies Suzette had left, Gao Luofei believed that Suzette would definitely not disappoint everyone. Only someone as valuable to the country as Suzette deserved the protection that Guo and his team provided. Now that she understood the significance of Guo and his team, Gao Luofei didn't say anything more. What she wanted to do now was to enjoy the hard-won precious time with Suzette and spend a happy day together. This day came and went quickly, passing by amidst Suzette and Gao Luofei's laughter and joy. As evening approached, Suzette looked at Gao Luofei, who had been having a great time that day, and asked, "Fifei, my dear wife, where do you want to eat tonight?" "Anywhere is fine with me, as long as I'm with you," Gao Luofei replied happily upon hearing Suzette's question. With that, Suzette took Gao Luofei's right hand and led her to the Maserati Quattroport. After informing Guo of their destination, Suzette started the Maserati Quattroport and headed towards the venue for tonight's banquet. Night fell, and the neon lights of the buildings and street lights illuminated the area around the utility poles, casting a warm glow on the ground and guiding pedestrians home. The streets were bustling with traffic, and the Maserati Quattroport moved swiftly through the traffic like a fish. In the distance, visible through the car window, a towering building, bathed in colorful lights, came into view. Dingtae Building. Dingtae Building is so beautiful at night, no wonder it's the tallest building in Chengdu City. No way, is Suze taking Gao Luofei to Dingtae? Why would they go there so late? Hey, what nonsense are you talking about? They definitely need to find somewhere to eat. Eating at Dingtae Building? That's too extravagant. The 18th floor of Dingtae Building houses the only 7-star hotel in China, Dingtae Grand Hotel. There, people can not only enjoy different cuisines prepared by famous chefs from all over the world, but also have extremely luxurious private rooms in various presidential suites. Here, you will enjoy the most comfortable and relaxing service. However, such excellent service is naturally not something everyone can enjoy. There is a minimum spending limit for dining at Dingtae Grand Hotel, ranging from 100,000 to 10,000 depending on the size and decoration of the private room. If Professor Su really eats here, we're in luck. We can see what it's like for rich people to spend tens of thousands on a meal. Professor Su is so romantic. If my boyfriend ever took me to a place like this, I'd have agreed to his proposal long ago. You're not pursuing romance, you're just trying to marry a rich man. A meal here is so expensive, only someone as wealthy as Suze can afford it. Hey, you're being a bit low class. Did you know that the Dingtae Hotel has a top-tier private room located on the top floor of the Dingtae Building? I wonder if you know about it. I've heard about it too. It seems the top floor of the Dingtae Building hasn't been officially announced yet. People who have been there have only vaguely described it as something amazing. To be honest, I'm a little rich. I once spent $1 million trying to go there, but I was turned away. A little rich? $1 million isn't a small amount. While the viewers in the live stream were enthusiastically discussing the matter, the Maserati CEO, along with Bingbing, Guo, and their entourage, entered the underground parking lot of the Dingtae Building. Due to its unique geographical location, the Dingtae Building has strong security and is relatively safe. Therefore, Suze shut down the candle dragon device and led Guo and his group up the Dingtae Building. Honey, you still remember, Gao Luofei remembered saying when the Dingtae Hotel opened that she wanted to come here with Suze for a meal sometime. However, due to various reasons, it had never happened, and Gao Luofei had forgotten about it over time. But now, on this special day, that wish had finally come true. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129. They actually arrived at the last floor of Dingtae Building. Because Suze had already made a reservation at the Dingtae Hotel in advance. When everyone arrived at the lobby, they saw the lobby manager of the Dingtae Hotel already waiting there. The lobby of the Dingtae Hotel is located on the 108th floor of the hotel. Under the lights, the lobby was magnificent yet not overly gaudy. Pillars stood tall, and above them was a bright crystal chandelier, complementing the surrounding decor. No wonder it's a 7-star hotel. The staff are more attractive than many celebrities. This lobby is so luxurious. I'd be very satisfied if I could come here. With this level of decoration, it must cost tens of millions. Is this what a 7-star hotel is like? Truly magnificent. Mr. Su, Mrs. Su, welcome to Dingtae. I am Yu Huarong, the lobby manager of Dingtae. I will be responsible for receiving you today. Hello, Manager Yu. Suze and Gao Luofei responded to Yu Huarong's greeting. However, compared to before, Gao Luofei's expression and tone of voice were much happier and more joyful at this moment. In truth, Gao Luofei preferred being called Mrs. Su rather than Ms. Gao, a big star, or a goddess. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, led by Yu Huarong, the group arrived at an elevator. Considering the special circumstances, there weren't many people present. Besides Bingbing and her group, Guo was sufficient to protect Suze and Gao Luofei. The elevator, which could easily accommodate 16 people, was more than enough to fit only a few. Unlike other elevators, the one Suze and his group were riding in was completely transparent. Turning around, they could see the cityscape at night through the glass, the winding river, the glittering lights of steamboats, the distant skyline of skyscrapers, and crowds of people looking like ants. The view from this vantage point was indeed different from what they saw on the ground. This night view is so beautiful. Yes, how wonderful it would be to stand on a high building and contemplate life while looking at this view, enjoying dinner while admiring this night view. Just thinking about it is incredibly romantic. Because it was only 18 floors, not very high, The elevator rang soon after, and the sign next to the elevator clearly displayed the number 115. Look, it's the 115th floor, if I remember correctly. This should be the highest floor of the Dinte building. Didn't they say that even a million wouldn't get you up here? I didn't expect Professor Su and Goddess Gao to be having dinner here. Not only the viewers in the live stream, but even Gao Luofei showed a very surprised expression when she saw this scene. Gao Luofei had also heard the rumors about the 115th floor of the Dinte building. According to what Gao Luofei knew, the 115th floor had been booked by a mysterious person, and no one knew what it was for or what its purpose was, except for the daily maintenance personnel sent by the Dinte Hotel. It was very mysterious. Unexpectedly, she had followed Suzette to this mysterious 115th floor. Could it be that the mysterious person on the 115th floor is related to Suzette, or perhaps, is Suzette himself? Before Gao Luofei and her group could think further, Yu Huang, her red lips slightly parted, spoke after the elevator doors opened. Mr. Su, please follow me. With that, Yu Huang stepped out of the elevator first. As everyone left the elevator, when the viewers in the live stream saw the top floor of the Dinte Hotel where Suzette and his group had arrived, they all exclaimed in admiration. More than admiration, it was astonishment. A breathtaking scene unfolded before their eyes. Atop a towering artificial hill, a small waterfall cascaded down, pouring into the river and merging seamlessly with it, drifting into the distance. On both sides of the river, various flowers and plants, designed by top-notch landscape architects, were perfectly harmonious. This was the location of Suzette and Gao Luofei's dinner. Leaving Suzette and Gao Luofei alone, Guoan and his group were led to a side hall. Looking at the arrangement before her, Gao Luofei's eyes gradually filled with tears. Others might not feel much about this scene, but Gao Luofei knew that Suzette had specially prepared it for her. This was the scene she had mentioned to Suzette before. And so, time flew by as Suzette and Gao Luofei enjoyed their romantic meal. After the meal, Suzette and Gao Luofei left the Tating Hotel together, heading home. Mr. Su, Mrs. Su, would you like us to arrange a car to take you both home? The atmosphere tonight was very pleasant, and Suzette and Gao Luofei had even enjoyed a little red wine. As the saying goes, don't drink and drive. Considering they were live streaming, drunk driving would certainly have a very negative impact. Therefore, Yu Huang asked Suzette and Gao Luofei. After all, it was a 7-star hotel, and providing transportation for guests was perfectly normal. Since it was a 7-star hotel, the chauffeured vehicle was naturally not an ordinary car, but a Rolls-Royce. It's worth noting that the Maserati Quattroporte is equipped with autonomous driving technology. This means that even if Suzette and Gao Luofei had been drinking, they could still get home safely in the Maserati Quattroporte. However, since someone was offering a ride, Suzette didn't need to display this technology. He could keep it as a trump card. Afterwards, Suzette boarded the Rolls-Royce arranged by Yu Huang and headed towards his home. However, the driver wasn't the one provided by the Dinte Hotel, Guoan was used instead. The journey was peaceful and safe. Yet, something was amiss. Chapter 130 The Maserati Quattroporte embarks on his own journey home. After getting out of the Rolls-Royce, Suzette bid farewell to Guoan. It was late, and Guoan handed the Rolls-Royce to a chauffeur from the Dinte Hotel who had hailed a car to follow them. He then left Suzette's house in his own car, leaving the two of them alone, just in case of any accident, so they could be notified immediately. After seeing Guoan off, Suzette opened the door and followed Gao Luofei back to his room. Inside, Suzette and Gao Luofei gazed at each other, the atmosphere warm and sweet. Suzette had a good tolerance for alcohol. The small amount of red wine that evening was no problem for him. But Gao Luofei was a different story. Her pretty face was slightly flushed, her eyes gazing dreamily at her lover. Honey, you know, I'm so happy today, she said, clinging to Suzette like a koala. What happened next is self-evident. For the sake of their unborn child, nothing more needs to be said. However, before that, just in case, for tomorrow's use, Suzette activated the remote control function of the Maserati Quattroporte, instructing it to drive home automatically according to the system's navigation route. After confirming activation, Suzette said nothing more, turning off his phone to avoid being disturbed. Meanwhile, after Suzette gave the command, the Maserati Quattroporte's headlights illuminated first, followed by the powerful roar of its engine. The surging engine sound echoed in the underground parking garage, sounding incredibly exhilarating. After starting, the Maserati Quattroporte smoothly drove away from the parking space after a standard parking start. It smoothly ascended the ramp through the underground parking garage and stopped in front of the payment gate. Hello, you parked for a total of 3 hours and 31 minutes, the total charge is 20 yuan. The security guard in the booth, sensing a car approaching, glanced casually at his computer screen while playing cards and spoke out a window. Your account has received 20 yuan. After the notification sound of the money arriving, the barrier that had been blocking the Maserati Quattroporte lifted. Hearing the Maserati Quattroporte start moving again, the security guard in the booth only glanced at the departing car before looking down again. However, he immediately sensed something was amiss. He hadn't seen anyone in the driver's seat. Thinking he'd misjudged, the guard looked up to double-check. But now he could only see the Maserati Quattroporte's taillights, its right turn signal on, already at the intersection. After the other vehicles passed, the Maserati Quattroporte merged into the main road and drove away. Watching this, the guard muttered, I must be seeing things. If there's no one there, how can they be so obedient to traffic rules? He then dismissed the thought and continued playing his game. Driving on the wide road, the Maserati Quattroporte's autopilot operated at the maximum speed allowed by traffic. With precise computer calculations and advanced route planning, the Maserati Quattroporte moved swiftly and steadily through traffic, weaving through cars without disrupting the flow of traffic. In Chengdu City at night, while there weren't as many cars as during rush hour, many commuters were still driving home after get-off work, or perhaps people who had to leave home for other reasons. The fastest route to Suzette and Gao Luofei's home was the relatively quiet North Ring Road. Seeing the sign, the Maserati Quattroporte made a sharp turn onto the North Ring Road. Wife, hang in there, we'll be at the hospital soon. At this moment, on the side of North Ring Road in Chengdu City, a man around 30 years old knelt on the ground, holding the hand of his heavily pregnant wife lying on the ground, encouraging her. Around them, a gynecologist was urgently checking on the pregnant woman's condition. However, despite her husband's encouragement, the pregnant wife, pale-faced, wanted to agree, but the immense pain in her body prevented her from speaking, and she gritted her teeth, unable to utter a word. The man was a ride-share driver, and he had planned to finish this last fare and go home, but unexpectedly, he ran out of gas halfway through the trip. Not only that, but his wife's water broke prematurely, and she was about to give birth. If the baby were in the correct position, it wouldn't be so difficult, but the baby was breech, making a normal delivery impossible. The most urgent thing was to get to the hospital immediately. No, your wife's condition is very dangerous. A natural birth is impossible, you must get to the hospital immediately for a cesarean section. If you delay any longer, not only the baby's life but also the mother's will be in great danger. Seeing his wife's pain, the man was naturally distressed and quickly said upon hearing the doctor's words, Okay, I know the best thing to do is go to the hospital, but my car is out of gas, it's all my fault. My wife reminded me to fill up this morning, but I was too busy and forgot. If I had filled up then, this wouldn't have happened. The man felt incredibly guilty thinking about his wife's suffering because of him. You don't have a car? Can't you call a taxi? There aren't many cars around, but you drive for a living, you must be in a taxi group, right? Ask around in the group and see if there are any cars nearby that can get your wife to the hospital quickly. The doctor nearby, hearing the man's words, urged him on. Every second was crucial at this moment. Sometimes, even a second could make all the difference. Hello, this is Luofei. My wife has suddenly gone into labor, and my car is out of gas. We're on Huancheng North Road right now. Does anyone know anyone around here? Chapter 131 The situation is dire. The pregnant woman's life is in imminent danger. Old Wei, I'm on Yingxi Road right now. It'll take me 20 minutes to get to your spot. Can you make it in time? Old Wei, I'm nearby, but my car broke down and is being repaired. Old Wei, wait a minute, let me ask someone else. The people in the group had a good relationship with Old Wei, so when they heard him asking for help, they immediately mobilized their networks to see if anyone was on Huancheng North Road. The northern part of Chengdu City is relatively desolate, and there are even fewer vehicles on Huancheng North Road. Sure enough, there were some. But they had all driven past Old Wei's location, and turning around would take some time. Some suggested driving against traffic, but Old Wei knew that driving against traffic late at night was fine if there were no people or cars around. But if a car suddenly came along and caused an accident, it would be his fault. He didn't want others to be in danger, so he refused. Xiaohu, I'll send you my location. Tell the nearest hospital to send an ambulance immediately. There's a pregnant woman having a difficult labor. Hello, 110? I'm Han Guangxi, a doctor from the Maternal and Child Health Hospital. There's a pregnant woman having a difficult labor about 300 meters south of Xiaoxuzhuang on Huancheng North Road. She needs to be taken to the hospital immediately. In this emergency, Han Guangxi, as a doctor, dialed the number according to the first aid manual. Hang in there, we'll be at the hospital soon. Take deep breaths, keep your rhythm, and don't fall asleep. After making the call, Han Guangxi instructed the pregnant woman, who was already covered in sweat. At the same time, Han Guangxi thought of something, picked up her phone, and started a live stream. While Han Guangxi wasn't a famous streamer, she was still a mid-level one. Her purpose in starting the live stream was to use her limited resources to see if she could find nearby viewers and help them get to the hospital. After all, it would take time for both an ambulance and the police to get there, and the pregnant woman's condition was very bad, the sooner the better. When Han Guangxi started her live stream, a large number of viewers quickly flooded into the room, numbering around 6,000. Dr. Han, wasn't you supposed to be off today? Why are you suddenly live streaming? Judging from the background, Sister Zai, it's in the suburbs. This is Sister Zai's first time doing an outdoor live stream. It's so novel. Beautiful streamer, did something happen? Why are you sweating so much? Old Wei wasn't very old, and he usually enjoyed watching short videos and live streams. Seeing Han Guangxi's actions, Old Wei realized that Han Guangxi was also a streamer. However, unpleasant images and news immediately flashed through Old Wei's mind. So-and-so streamer broadcasts an accident to attract attention, so-and-so streamer openly. It's not that Old Wei was suspicious. After seeing so much of this kind of news, when he encountered similar situations, he subconsciously thought in that direction. Old Wei categorized Han Guangxi as one of these people, and he even used Han Guangxi's act of saving his wife as part of his live stream content. However, after hearing Han Guangxi's next words, Lao Wei realized he had misunderstood her. Hello everyone, there's a very urgent matter that requires your help. I'm currently on Huancheng North Road in Hongdu City. A pregnant woman here has suddenly gone into labor and urgently needs to get to the hospital. Are there any friends nearby who can help? I've already called 110 and 120, but they'll take at least 15 minutes to arrive. Han Guangxi said this with an anxious expression. While speaking, Han Guangxi pointed her phone camera at the pregnant woman. However, to protect her privacy, Han Guangxi only glanced at her, making sure everyone saw that she was indeed pregnant, without exposing any private parts. The viewers in Han Guangxi's live stream, seeing this, weren't indifferent. Seeing that Han Guangxi's story was true, they all flooded the chat with comments. Any brothers around there? Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda, let alone 2 lives. The merit is immeasurable. It's a bit late. I just happened to be passing by. It'll take at least 30 minutes to turn back now. I'm afraid I won't have enough time. North Ring Road, that place is too remote, probably no one there. Han Guangxi's hopeful eyes watched the comments in the live stream chat. However, the comments flashed by quickly, but none of them were of any value. But Han Guangxi could understand. Although he had thousands of viewers in his live stream, they came from all over the country. Hongdu City was only a small city, and North Ring Road was only a small road, so this result was normal. Brother Wei, my abilities are limited. It seems we can only wait for the ambulance. Hearing Han Guangxi's voice, Old Wei said gratefully, Dr. Han, it's okay, you've already helped us a lot. No matter the outcome, Huzi and I are very grateful to you. They had already come up with the last resort. Since there was still no other way, they could only wait for the ambulance to arrive. However, at that moment, Han Guangxi, who had been watching the pregnant woman's condition closely, suddenly changed her expression. Oh no, massive bleeding. Han Guangxi noticed that the pregnant woman's complexion was becoming increasingly pale, and her breathing seemed to be becoming more and more difficult. Then Han Guangxi noticed that the bleeding was quite heavy, and the woman's cries of pain were becoming less frequent. All of this indicated that the pregnant woman's condition was deteriorating rapidly, and her life was in imminent danger. Hang in there, think of your husband, think of your child, think of your child. The way she looked when she first crawled, walked, and talked, Han Guangxi encouraged the pregnant woman while providing emergency treatment. Perhaps Han Guangxi's words had an effect, as the pregnant woman's condition improved considerably. However, if this situation wasn't addressed to the hospital promptly, even with Han Guangxi's timely intervention, she wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Master Wei, the situation is a bit serious, you need to prepare yourself mentally, Han Guangxi whispered to Old Wei. Hearing Han Guangxi's words, Old Wei's eyes immediately filled with tears. What was that sound? Chapter 132 Alert! Alert! Abnormal target detected. The atmosphere at the scene became heavy because of Han Guangxi's words. It's really dangerous for a pregnant woman to have a difficult labor and not be in the hospital. Sigh, all I can say is wish them good luck. Sister Zai has done her best. The rest is really up to fate. What's that sound? I think I heard a car. Me too. That must be the engine of a sports car. Someone is speeding in the middle of the night. Expose him. Expose him? Are you out of your mind? This is a good thing. Think about it. If we stop the sports car, we can get her to the hospital directly. A sports car? That must be a rich kid. Do you think he'd want to do this? This is so disgusting. A car is coming. Master Wei, stop this car. If we stop it, Huzi can get rid of her pain as soon as possible. The sudden engine sound on the quiet highway was like a stone thrown into a lake, creating ripples and giving Han Guangxi and Lao Wei hope. Before Han Guangxi could finish speaking, Old Wei rushed to the middle of the road, ignoring everything, and stood upright with his arms outstretched. Even if Han Guangxi hadn't said anything, Old Wei would have done the same. Because it represented the lives of his wife and unborn child. Although this Huancheng North Road had street lights on both sides, accidents were easily caused if oncoming vehicles weren't paying attention. Seeing Old Wei's reckless behavior, for his safety, Han Guangxi quickly went to the car and turned on the headlights. After turning on the headlights, Han Guangxi hurriedly said to Old Wei, Mr. Wei, it's dangerous for you to stand there. Come to the side of the road, we can wave to flag them down. Despite Han Guangxi's persuasion, Old Wei refused to leave. Faced with Han Guangxi's well-intentioned advice, Old Wei said, Dr. Han, I know it's dangerous, but what if we wave from the side of the road and the car doesn't stop? Han Guangxi fell silent at Old Wei's words. Dr. Han, you're a good person, but if something happens to my wife and child, there's no point in me staying in this world. Compared to that, what is this little danger? Seeing this, the viewers in Han Guangxi's live stream were moved. If we can't live together, what's wrong with dying together? People say that couples are like birds in the same forest, flying away separately when disaster strikes, but what does this mean? What made him like this? Perhaps this is the purest, most ordinary love. Hearing Lao Wei's words, Han Guangxi knew that further words were useless, so he said nothing more. Since Lao Wei was like this, Han Guangxi returned to Lao Wei's wife, who was facing a turning point in her life. He bent down, comforting her and checking on her condition, while also keeping an eye on the situation at the end of the road. Watching the scene before them, the viewers in the live stream held their breath for Han Guangxi and Lao Wei, hoping this would stop the passing vehicles. As the incident unfolded, more and more viewers in Han Guangxi's live stream spread the news, and passers-by who heard about it also clicked into Han Guangxi's live stream. Quietly, Han Guangxi's live stream, which had never broken the 10,000 viewer mark before, set a new record. However, Han Guangxi, the person involved, was completely unaware of all this. Time, elusive and intangible, slipped away unnoticed by the two of them and everyone else. Apart from the increasingly loud engine roar and the sound of tires rubbing against the pavement, the quiet night sky and the chirping of cicadas and birds by the roadside remained unchanged. Vroom boom whoosh. Hearing the sound of the sports car approaching, Han Guangxi and Lao Wei both knew in their hearts that this was a matter of life and death. The next moment, under the gaze of Han Guangxi, Lao Wei, and many viewers in the live stream, a red supercar with flashing lights drove towards them from around the corner. The headlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the vision of Han Guangxi and Lao Wei, and also illuminating the pregnant woman's hope. Ding! The autonomous driving system is operating normally, speed 100 km per hour, estimated arrival time at the destination is 23 minutes, ding! All vehicle equipment is currently operating normally, ding! Vehicle air quality meets standards, ding! No road abnormalities, free passage. Inside the Maserati Quattroporte, the autonomous driving system broadcast the vehicle's current operating status. If the road data and driving route that the Maserati Quattroporte had traveled along the way could be noticed by road professionals such as top racing drivers, they would be extremely shocked. Because whether it was the route and speed on straightaways, or the curvature and body condition when entering corners, it was perfect. Even a top racing champion like Schumacher could not achieve this level of accuracy. Because the calculation capabilities required for this route are only achievable by machines. This was the first time the Maserati Quattroporte's autonomous driving system had been used in actual combat, although the system itself certainly didn't have many problems. However, the relevant information and data during operation were simultaneously uploaded to the back-end server. After all, applying autonomous driving technology to ordinary civilian vehicles is only the first step. The most crucial aspect is its integration into vehicles like tanks, armored vehicles, fighter jets, carrier-based aircraft, bombers, and even potentially national strategic assets such as aircraft carriers, missiles, and rockets. The more data the system collects during operation when integrated into these systems, the better it will be for future development. After turning the corner, the Maserati Quattroporte's built-in navigation radar naturally detected Lao Wei, the pregnant woman, and Han Guangxi on the road. Faced with someone blocking the road, the Maserati Quattroporte, according to its system settings, aimed at the road beside Lao Wei and prepared to pass. However, Lao Wei saw that the Maserati Quattroporte showed no intention of slowing down but instead changed lanes. Seeing this, Lao Wei couldn't let the Maserati Quattroporte go and immediately stepped aside to block its path. Warning. Warning. Abnormal target detected. Chapter 133 Holy crap. How did they drive here when there was no one in the car? As Lao Wei changed his route, the Maserati Quattroporte's autopilot system naturally changed its course simultaneously, deviating from its original path. Lao Wei, seemingly unfazed by the possibility of being hit, continued this simultaneous change. It was only because the area after the turn was some distance away, and because the system assessed the vehicle's trajectory and simultaneously slowed down safely each time it changed course, that an accident could have easily occurred. Faced with this abnormal situation, the autopilot system naturally activated its warning. The Maserati Quattroporte finally stopped when it was only 5 meters away from Lao Wei, under the watchful eyes of everyone. However, while the Maserati Quattroporte stopped, the viewers in the live stream were extremely angry. They had witnessed the entire process. If Lao Wei hadn't insisted, the Maserati Quattroporte might have simply driven past him. Instead, it was now obediently forced to stop in front of him. Rich people are so heartless. There must be something wrong with someone acting like this. Why won't they listen? Exactly, stopping won't kill you. Why not stop? And he's driving a Maserati Quattroporte. How can someone like that afford such a luxury car? I declare that from this day forward, I will never buy Maserati products again, unless the Maserati Quattroporte apologizes for selling its products to this kind of person. This guy is so arrogant. Why doesn't he get out of the car to check the situation? Apologize? You people are hilarious. Do you even have the money to buy a Maserati, and you expect him to apologize? It's utterly ridiculous. If it were me, I probably wouldn't stop either. This is the middle of nowhere. Who knows if it's a honey trap? What if I stop and get kidnapped? Who's responsible then? Exactly, these things are voluntary. People can stop if they want to, and they have the right not to. If I were in this situation, I would have called the police already. There are CCTV cameras to prove it. Lao Wei's actions are illegal. Whether or not to pursue the matter depends on the car owner. The viewers in the live stream were arguing heatedly, each holding their own opinion and refusing to back down. Amidst this debate, Han Guangxi's live stream popularity soared, attracting more and more viewers who joined with various emotions. The number of viewers officially surpassed 20,000. Han Guangxi herself was unaware of the arguments in the live stream. However, even if she had known, she wouldn't have paid any attention to it. Just as the Maserati Quattroporte stopped, Han Guangxi, after settling the pregnant woman, hurried towards the Maserati. In that short distance, Han Guangxi had already mentally prepared her words. Han Guangxi understood that the Maserati Quattroporte had been stopped by Lao Wei. But the Maserati Quattroporte's owner must be feeling extremely upset. After all, anyone would be indignant if such a situation occurred while driving peacefully. Putting herself in their shoes, Han Guangxi thought the Maserati Quattroporte owner was incredibly good-natured. If it were her, she probably would have rolled down the window and given them a good scolding by now. As for Luofei, he was also rushing frantically towards the Maserati Quattroport. If it weren't for his wife and children, Luofei would probably have already collapsed to the ground, staggering. However, all the preparations were ultimately useless. Just as Han Guangxi and Luofei reached the driver's seat of the Maserati Quattroport, ready to appeal to the driver's emotions, they discovered something extremely strange. There was no human presence in either the driver's or passenger seats. No, strictly speaking, no living beings were in the Maserati Quattroport. This eerie scene sent a chill down their spines, from the inside out, in the sweltering night. Although they were in a hurry to get the pregnant woman to the hospital, they couldn't even see the driver, so how could they talk to the car owner? Dr. Han, where's everyone? If no one's driving, then who drove that Maserati Quattroport? Old Wei, who grew up in a backward rural area, was surrounded by elders with superstitious beliefs. Although he was educated, seeing this situation reminded him of what his elders had said, and he stammered as he spoke to Han Guangxi. Compared to Old Wei, Han Guangxi was well educated and a staunch materialist, naturally not believing in ghosts or monsters. However, even though she didn't believe, this strange situation still made her uneasy. Could it be that my previous beliefs and knowledge were wrong? Do such strange creatures really exist in this world? Not only Old Wei and Han Guangxi, the two eyewitnesses, but also all the viewers in Han Guangxi's live stream who witnessed this scene felt a chill and exclaimed in unison, "Holy crap, are you kidding me? There's nobody in the car. If nobody's here, how did this Maserati Quattroport get here? Is it a ghost? No way. Did Dr. Han and the others encounter a ghost? Mommy, I'm scared, I want to go home. Didn't they say that after the founding of the People's Republic of China, spirits weren't allowed? How can something like this still happen?" Once the topic of ghosts and monsters came up, the viewers in the live stream had long forgotten the previous discussion and were now excitedly talking about this extremely bizarre event. While these people were analyzing the situation, the Maserati Quattroport's autopilot system reported the anomaly to the backend. In this situation, the most suitable approach was to let Souza handle it. Ding, you have a message pending processing. Chapter 134 We must seize the mech's data. The brutality of the battlefield forced Gao Luofei to surrender. However, she only took a short break. After resting and regaining some strength, she told Souza she would change into clothes she had prepared for him. After whetting Souza's appetite, Gao Luofei headed towards the changing room under his adoring and affectionate gaze. Souza, upon turning on his phone, received a message from the Maserati CEO. Seeing the message, Souza frowned. He hadn't expected something so seemingly insignificant to take such a turn. Relying solely on the system data, Souza couldn't determine the exact situation, so he opened his phone, connected to the backend, and watched the scene unfold. He saw the pregnant woman lying in a pool of blood, the man risking his life for his wife and child, and the beautiful, short-haired girl he seemed to have seen somewhere before. After watching, Souza understood what had happened. "Hello, my name is Han Guangxi, and I'm a doctor. I don't know if you are a human or a ghost, but I really need your help with something very important. Have you seen that pregnant woman by the roadside? Her condition is extremely critical. If you could have some compassion and take her to the hospital, she and her unborn child would have a much better chance of survival." Listening to Han Guangxi's words transmitted in real time by the system, Souza's expression was serious, yet somewhat amused. He was already being treated like a ghost, yet this girl dared to ask a ghost for help. Didn't she have any common sense? However, Souza wasn't heartless. Looking at the pregnant woman's condition, he thought of his future child with Gao Luofei. Since the matter was urgent and there was a valid reason, Souza agreed to Han Guangxi's request. Then, Souza performed some operations on his phone, activating the emergency function of the Maserati Quattroport's autopilot system and simultaneously opening the remote call function. After speaking to the Maserati Quattroport, Han Guangxi was unsure if his request would be effective in this bizarre situation. However, he decided to try anything, even if it seemed hopeless. If it worked, great. If not, he wouldn't bother the person anymore. This unusual situation in Han Guangxi's live stream quickly spread online through the viewers' conversations. When some people who were still awake heard the explosive news of a ghost encounter in a live stream, they flocked to the stream, causing the number of viewers to jump from 22,000 to 31,000 in an instant. Hey, do you think it's useful for Dr. Han to reason with a ghost in this situation? Honestly, this is the first time I've ever seen someone reason with a ghost. Dr. Han has truly opened my eyes. What ghost? What's so weird? Do you really think ghosts exist? You people are all short-sighted. What kind of ghost is this? It's clearly just the self-driving function built into the Maserati Quattroport. Self-driving? How did you even come up with that? Do you know who I am? I'm not bragging, but I work at the world's most advanced self-driving research institute, the HARMS Institute, established by a large American conglomerate. While our institute's current products are roadworthy, they can't possibly reach the level the Maserati Quattroport just demonstrated. I'd rather believe in ghosts than believe this is a self-driving system. You're like a frog in a well. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean others can. If America can't do it, why can't our country? Just as the viewers in the live stream were enthusiastically discussing this, and Han Guangxi was waiting for a possible response from the Maserati Quattroport, the Maserati Quattroport changed under everyone's gaze. The interior lights of the Maserati Quattroport lit up. Simultaneously, with a bang, the doors unlocked, and both doors slowly rose. The interior of the Maserati Quattroport was now completely exposed to everyone's view. The audience, who had initially thought someone was hiding inside playing tricks, fell silent. Judging from the interior, the owner seems to be a woman. Why did the car doors suddenly open? Did Sister Zai's words work? Sister Zai, do you think you're some kind of ghost messenger? How come this ghost listens to you so obediently? I understand your current situation. You can put the pregnant woman in the car. I agree. After Suze finished speaking and explaining the situation, he saw Gao Luofei, dressed in a black and white lace bodysuit, her every move filled with thoughts that stirred Suze's desire. Honey, am I pretty? Seeing this, Suze had no other thoughts. He turned off his phone, sprang up from the soft mattress, and went to Gao Luofei's side. Suze himself was fine, but what he didn't know was that his words startled everyone who wasn't prepared. Holy crap, there's a ghost. Why is this car suddenly talking? Mommy, I'm scared, I'm staying alone tonight, please don't scare me. Looking at the situation inside the Maserati Quattroport, hearing Suze's words, and smelling the faint fragrance inside the car, Han Guangxi finally understood. This wasn't a ghost, but rather the Maserati Quattroport was equipped with an autonomous driving system. It must have originally intended to drive home, but was delayed because of them. Although she didn't understand when the Maserati Quattroport had such an autonomous driving system, the immediate priority was to save lives. Since the owner agreed, with Lao Wei's help, the pregnant woman was placed in the more spacious passenger seat and fastened her seatbelt. As for the driver's seat, Han Guangxi ended up sitting there. In Lao Wei's words, this place is desolate, and he is not at ease leaving Han Guangxi alone. Besides, if the pregnant woman has any problems on the road, it will be easier to deal with it if Han Guangxi is there. Chapter 135 Ensure all evacuation routes are clear. Captain Wang, this is Han Guangxi. We just flagged down a red Maserati sports car and are currently on Huancheng North Road, having just passed the Hongdu City sign. We are about to reach this Hongdu City Maternal and Child Health Hospital via Zizhuangtown Road and Hongke West Road. Captain Wang, the pregnant woman's condition is very serious. We plan to exit to Huancheng North Road in 1 minute. Please coordinate the traffic on that road. Time was of the essence, and to prevent any traffic congestion, it was best to have the relevant departments clear the road beforehand to ensure the Maserati could reach the hospital smoothly. Captain Wang had risen through the ranks from the bottom, and his previous area of duty was near Huancheng North Road. Therefore, he knew the road conditions like the back of his hand. Because of this, after hearing Han Guangxi's words, Captain Wang already knew exactly where Han Guangxi and the critically ill pregnant woman were. However, when Captain Wang heard Han Guangxi's second sentence, he thought he had misremembered. If I'm not mistaken, the distance from the location Han Guangxi mentioned to the exit of Huancheng North Road leading to Zizhuangtown Road is about 4 kilometers. Han Guangxi said it would only take 1 minute to reach the distance. Was Han Guangxi sure she wasn't mistaken? Captain Wang couldn't understand it no matter how hard he tried. He assumed Han Guangxi, being a woman, wouldn't be familiar with the route and speed, so he said, Ms. Han, is it convenient for the driver of the Maserati Quattroport to take the call? Could you please give him the phone so I can ask him about the situation? Hearing Captain Wang's words, Han Guangxi wasn't someone who lacked social skills. She understood the underlying meaning in Captain Wang's words perfectly. However, Han Guangxi wasn't angry at all. After all, who would have thought that the Maserati Quattroporte would be going so fast? Let the driver of the Maserati Quattroporte take the call. To be honest, Han Guangxi wanted to find him, but the fact was, she couldn't. Faced with Captain Wang's request, Han Guangxi could only truthfully say, "Captain Wang, the driver of the Maserati Quattroporte might not be able to answer your call." Why? This was just a simple matter. Why did Han Guangxi sound so troubled? "Captain Wang, because this Maserati Quattroporte has no driver." As soon as Han Guangxi finished speaking, Captain Wang felt as if he had heard something utterly ridiculous. A Maserati Quattroporte driving normally. A Maserati Quattroporte currently rushing anxiously to this Hongdu City Maternal and Child Health Hospital to help a pregnant woman. You're telling me there's no driver? No one would believe that. Captain Wang felt a surge of anger. We're currently anxious about the pregnant woman's life, and you're joking with us like this? What kind of inappropriate behavior is this? No driver, Ms. Han. If there's no driver, then how did you stop a Maserati Quattroporte? Hearing Captain Wang's angry words, Han Guangxi quickly explained. Captain Wang, I know what I'm saying is hard to understand, and I understand you're probably very angry and think I'm playing you. But I assure you, what I'm saying is the truth. This Maserati Quattroporte is indeed carrying me and the pregnant woman towards the hospital, but there really is no driver. The Maserati Quattroporte has been on autopilot, letting the vehicle drive itself. Autopilot. Hearing Captain Wang's skeptical tone, Han Guangxi quickly said, Captain Wang, I know this is hard to understand, but what I'm saying is truly the truth. When we meet at the Maternal and Child Health Hospital, everything will be resolved. Captain Wang, the most important thing right now is to ensure the roads are clear. If any illegal acts occur because of me, you can contact me directly afterward, and I will definitely cooperate. Seeing that Han Guangxi had gone to such lengths, Captain Wang, although still unconvinced, began to act according to Han Guangxi's instructions. Attention all departments, a red Maserati Quattroporte carrying a pregnant woman is traveling along Huancheng North Road, Zizhuang Town Road, and Hongke West Road towards the Maternal and Child Health Hospital. It is estimated to arrive at the Zizhuang Town Road intersection in 1 minute. This route is now under special one-way traffic control. All personnel nearby must immediately take action to maintain road order. As soon as Captain Wang finished speaking, all nearby personnel obeyed. The vehicle's hazard lights flashed, echoing through the quiet night. Vehicles that were originally on the road were quickly pulled off the road to make way. Captain, this is very strange. Autonomous driving systems really know how to find excuses. We haven't heard of any autonomous driving systems that can actually drive normally yet. Are you sure you want to do this? The assistant standing behind Captain Wang said to him. Hearing his assistant's words, Captain Wang said, Human life is at stake. If anything goes wrong, I gave the order. Any problems can be brought to me, it's on me. Just as Captain Wang finished speaking, another person sitting behind him seemed to have noticed something, looking at him with surprise and saying, Captain, I think what Han Guangxi said is true. That Maserati Quattroporte really didn't have a driver. Captain, look, this video is already circulating all over the internet. Captain Wang took the phone and watched the video. After seeing the content clearly, Captain Wang realized he had made a mistake. From beginning to end, what Han Guangxi said was true. The Maserati Quattroporte really didn't have a driver and was indeed being controlled by the autopilot system. Han Guangxi's timing was also correct. The Maserati Quattroporte was currently traveling at 221 km per hour. At that speed, traveling 4 kilometers in just 1 minute was perfectly normal. Captain Wang realized he could only blame his own lack of experience. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 The driver is definitely a top-notch racer. Chen Ming, you busy man, we finally have a chance today, let's have a good competition. At this moment, 2 sports cars were driving on Huancheng North Road. One was a red Ferrari LaFerrari, and the other a Koenigsegg. Both sports cars were considered to have excellent performance. And besides the cars themselves, the drivers were no ordinary people either. The driver of the Ferrari Luofei was a well-known former racing driver in China, who originally had the hope of entering F1 racing as a Chinese citizen, but unfortunately withdrew due to bad luck and health reasons. The Koenigsegg driver, Chen Ming, was the first Chinese driver to enter the F1 World Championship, and was very popular in the Chinese racing circle. His handling of corners was particularly admirable. The two were taking advantage of the time and chose to race on Huancheng North Road, a relatively secluded road with few cars at night. It was called a competition, but it was really just for fun, a friendly sparring match. Once everything was ready, the two simultaneously pressed the buttons. With instincts ingrained in their muscles, they used both hands and feet, and soon the Ferrari Luofei and Koenigsegg reached speeds of 100 km per hour. They chased each other, having a great time. Soon, they arrived at a section of the North Ring Road with 3 consecutive curves. Because the curves were quite sharp, even the two of them slowed down slightly and adjusted their angles before entering the curves. But just then, before they could react, a red streak flashed past them. What just passed by the time they realized what was happening, they only saw the rear of the Maserati Quattroporte. Is someone racing 240 km per hour? Are they crazy? They're about to enter a curve, going that fast, are they crazy? Even Chen Ming wouldn't dare enter a curve at such a speed. That kid will definitely slow down before entering the bend. However, Chen Ming had barely finished speaking when he saw the Maserati Quattroporte show no signs of slowing down, speeding into the bend at 240 km per hour. Under their watchful eyes, the Maserati Quattroporte flawlessly navigated 3 consecutive bends before disappearing from their sight. Watching this perfect scene, Chen Ming and his companion couldn't help but gape. This autopilot system is amazing. At such high speeds, it can still corner perfectly. Who owns the system? Is it for sale? If I had it in my car, I could experience the joy of racing. So exciting. I take back what I said earlier, this autopilot system is divine. Meanwhile, Han Guangxi was filled with intense curiosity about the owner of the unseen Maserati Quattroporte. Who created this autopilot system? It's incredible. As the saying goes, the layman enjoys the spectacle, the expert sees the details. Viewers in Han Guangxi's live stream were merely amazed watching the Maserati Quattroporte on their virtual screens, but Chen Ming was deeply shaken. As the most skilled race car driver in China, Chen Ming believed he could never complete such a perfect turn. But now, seeing an unknown driver achieve such a feat filled him with a profound sense of defeat, and he prepared to follow the route the Maserati Quattroporte had taken. He wanted to see who the driver of this perfect car was. If possible, he wanted to recruit them into China's F1 team. Perhaps a second Chinese driver could become an international F1 champion. Mr. Jack. Inside the Thomas Research Institute, Jack's expression was uncertain as he watched the live stream, his thoughts unreadable. Seeing this, Yang Wei whispered. Thinking about what had just happened, Yang Wei was also shocked. He hadn't expected the autonomous driving technology. He hadn't been optimistic about to achieve such a level of performance. It was beyond his expectations. Not only Yang Wei, but even without Yang Wei translating, Jack could see the footage very clearly. This autonomous driving system was completely different from what he had described. This speed, this control, this smooth driving technique, was this really something autonomous driving technology could achieve? As the chief technical director of the Research Institute, Jack was certain that their so-called most advanced autonomous driving technology in the world couldn't possibly reach this level. Thinking back to his earlier words, although Yang Wei remained expressionless, Jack felt as if he had been slapped in the face, and also had the illusion that Yang Wei was mocking him internally. His painstakingly developed and proudly developed autonomous driving system was utterly crushed compared to the system presented in this scene. This made Jack too ashamed to stay any longer. As he left, Jack was thinking that he had to contact the inventor of this autonomous driving system immediately. If he could recruit the inventor, then their Thomas Research Institute would still possess the most advanced autonomous driving system in the world. However, Jack forgot that he had just spoken to Andre, the head of the Maserati Group, with prejudice. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The Maserati CEO's speed increased rapidly. After exiting the North Ring Road, the Maserati Quattroporte, escorted by traffic police, headed towards the maternal and child health hospital. When the traffic police saw the Quattroporte's speed, they couldn't help but smile. Luckily, it was on a mission to save lives. Under normal circumstances, the Quatroport would definitely have been surrounded and forced to stop by police cars. With the road clear and without any incidents, the Quatroport arrived at the hospital smoothly. After the vehicle stopped, the doctors, who had been waiting, immediately stepped forward, placed the pregnant woman on a stretcher, and took her away. Chapter 137. Who is this person? Why is he driving Fei Fei's car? Goddess Bingbing, today's program was fantastic. We discovered so much hidden money in Suze's coffers again. Keep up the good work tomorrow and find even more. Goddess Bingbing, it's so late. Experts Zhelan and Sun Li have already been taken home. You should go home and rest too. That's right, staying up late will give you dark circles under your eyes, and you won't look pretty. As the clock ticked further, the number of viewers in the official live stream of Finding Hidden Money dwindled from the daytime crowd to only about 60,000, who remained to chat with Bingbing about the day's events. Master, what's wrong? Bingbing, who was interacting with the audience, noticed the driver had stopped and asked curiously. Something happened up ahead. The road is temporarily closed. They said it will take 10 minutes to reopen. Should we take a detour or wait? Hearing the driver's words, Bingbing thought that since it was closed for 10 minutes, she should wait. After all, taking a detour would add half an hour to the journey. However, the viewers in the live stream became quite interested after hearing what the driver said. Road closed? Could it be some big shot coming, hence the road closures? Closing the road this late at night is somewhat considerate. This isn't a major thoroughfare in Hongdu City, but there's still a fair amount of foot traffic. Closing it during the day would have a huge impact. Look, the road closure only extends to the area across the street from the maternal and child health hospital. Someone must be in a hurry to get there. Even if someone's in a rush to get to the hospital, they shouldn't close the road. This isn't something an ordinary family could do. Bingbing, point the camera outside so we can see too. Exactly. Maybe we'll even see that so-called big shot. Bingbing herself was very curious about what was happening, so she rolled down the window to observe what was going on outside. She saw 5 or 6 medical staff holding stretchers and IV drips standing at the hospital entrance across the street, occasionally glancing ahead, clearly waiting for someone. Besides the doctors, 2 uniformed traffic enforcement officers stood nearby, one of whom was Captain Wang. Seeing this, Bingbing understood that someone's condition must be extremely serious. I know that doctor, he seems to be a chief physician in obstetrics and gynecology. This must be some important person whose pregnant woman is in trouble. What's that noise? That sounds like a sports car. Based on my experience, it's definitely more than 120 miles per hour, now it's confirmed. Only rich people get into trouble like this. If it were us poor folks, there'd be no use worrying. Not long after, Bingbing heard a rapid engine roar from afar, followed by a fiery red shadow approaching, blurring into blur due to its speed. Although she didn't know the exact speed, Bingbing judged it to be at least 150 miles per hour. Actually, Bingbing was being too conservative. That wasn't just 150 miles per hour, it was at least 230 miles per hour. The fiery red car slowed down as it approached the hospital. After the car stopped, the viewers in the live stream and Bingbing saw the doctor, who had been waiting, immediately come to the car door, lift a pregnant woman from the passenger seat onto a stretcher, and then rush her into the hospital for emergency treatment. It's a Maserati Quatroport, it looks just like Fei Fei's. Seeing the approaching sports car, Bingbing immediately recognized it as the same Maserati Quatroport as Gao Luofei's. However, as soon as she finished speaking, Bingbing felt something was wrong. Gao Luofei's Maserati Quatroport was a custom-made model. How could it be so similar? Bingbing shifted her gaze to the Maserati Quattroport's license plate, and when she saw it, she froze. Because the license plate number of this Maserati Quatroport was exactly the same as Gao Luofei's. Now, when Bingbing looked at the Maserati Quatroport again, her initial opinion changed. This wasn't just the same model, it was clearly Gao Luofei's car. Why is Fei Fei's Maserati Quatroport here? Isn't it supposed to be parked in the underground parking lot of Dingtai building? It couldn't be Suze and Gao Luofei driving it, those two definitely wouldn't be here now, no way. Could it be that someone from Dingtai building drove the Maserati Quatroport out without permission? Bingbing murmured. Calling Suze and Gao Luofei now would definitely be impossible. Although she didn't know the specifics, since she had encountered it, Bingbing couldn't pretend she hadn't seen anything. Especially since she didn't recognize the pregnant woman who had gotten out of the driver's seat and passenger seat of the Maserati Quatroport. In this situation, she needed to find out more. Bingbing opened the car door, got out, and went straight to the Maserati Quattroport. Bingbing's words hadn't been kept secret from the viewers in the live stream, so they heard everything clearly. It's actually Gao Luofei's Maserati Quattroport. It's really unexpected to see her here. Do you think there might be a car thief at Lingte building? Probably not. If it were a car thief, why would they drive here? Besides, honestly, do you think Professor Su's car, which is being repaired, is so easy to steal? True, given the scene today, no one would steal a car. You're Han Guangxi, right? We spoke before. After watching the pregnant woman leave, Captain Wang walked to the driver's side door of the Maserati Quattroport and addressed Han Guangxi, who was getting out of the driver's seat. Seeing the pregnant woman safely gone, Han Guangxi breathed a sigh of relief. After calling Lao Wei to let him know she was safe, he said to Captain Wang, "Is this Captain Wang? Thank you so much for your help this time. It's what we should do. There are some things we discussed on the phone earlier that I need to talk to you about in person. Is this a convenient time?" Sure. The person who had been delivered, and with her master there, the pregnant woman was probably all right. Han Guangxi cooperated with Captain Wang's investigation. Captain Wang, hello. Chapter 138. Who is this person? Why is he driving Fei Fei's car? Bingbing, who arrived late, first greeted Captain Wang, whom she had met once before. Captain Wang was surprised to see Bingbing there and said, "It's Bingbing. What are you doing here so late?" Hearing Captain Wang's words, a serious expression appeared on Bingbing's pure and beautiful face. She said to Captain Wang, "Captain, the road is closed, and I was just passing through on my way home, so I was waiting for it to reopen. I saw you, Captain Wang, so I came to say hello." Captain Wang, who is this lady? Han Guangxi naturally recognized Bingbing, a well-known figure. Upon hearing her words, Han Guangxi introduced himself. "Hello Bingbing, my name is Han Guangxi, and I'm a doctor at this hospital." Hearing Han Guangxi's introduction, Bingbing nodded and then asked, "Hello Dr. Han, is this Maserati Quattroport yours?" Bingbing, you misunderstand. This Maserati Quattroport isn't mine. Since it's not yours, then Dr. Han, why did you drive this Maserati Quattroport here? Faced with Bingbing's question, Han Guangxi seemed to realize that Bingbing might know the owner of the Maserati Quattroport. She quickly explained, "Bingbing, it's like this. This Maserati Quattroport was originally driving on the North Ring Road." Han Guangxi then repeated what she had told Captain Wang on the phone. After Han Guangxi finished speaking, Captain Wang, standing beside her, fearing Bingbing would find this unbelievable, also spoke up for Han Guangxi, saying, "Bingbing, I know this must seem incredible to you, and I don't believe it either, so I came to ask Dr. Han to verify what she said." Captain Wang chose to believe Han Guangxi because when the Maserati Quattroport arrived, he clearly saw that the steering wheel was missing from the driver's seat. He also didn't see any other occupants besides Han Guangxi and the pregnant woman. All these signs indicated that what Han Guangxi had said was true. However, when Captain Wang saw the expression on Bingbing's face, he was quite astonished. Captain Wang noticed that Bingbing's face showed none of the shock he had initially displayed upon hearing all this. Her expression was as if everything was perfectly normal, nothing to be surprised about. "Bingbing, aren't you surprised at all?" Captain Wang asked, quite unexpectedly. Good heavens, even with his extensive experience, Captain Wang couldn't suppress his astonishment when he heard the news. When did autonomous driving systems become available on the road? Moreover, the Maserati Quattroport straight-line driving and turning at high speed were practically perfect. Only top-tier race car drivers could achieve such a feat. Who would have thought that this was done by an autonomous driving system? Surprise? How could I be surprised? Since it was modified by Suzette, what's so surprising about such a simple function? After all, Suzette could even create things like the Candle Dragon and the initial Mecha, so autonomous driving technology was child's play. Not only Bingbing, but the viewers in the live stream also showed a somewhat indifferent reaction after hearing Captain Wang and Han Guangxi's words. Haha, Goddess Bingbing's tolerance has increased. Don't even mention Goddess Bingbing, I wasn't too surprised either. Autopilot system? Is that as powerful as Hulan? It wasn't that they didn't know the significance of this technology, but rather that they had been surprised too many times today and had become accustomed to it. If this had happened tomorrow, they might have given it some face. Captain Wang, to be honest, if it had happened yesterday, or if I didn't know who the owner of this Maserati Quattroporte was, I might have been quite surprised, but now, if it's him, he can indeed handle this small matter, Bingbing spoke casually. Who? Hearing what Bingbing said, Han Guangxi became very curious about the person Bingbing was talking about. However, compared to Han Guangxi, Captain Wang understood after hearing Bingbing's reminder. If the owner of this Maserati Quattroporte was Suzette, then there was indeed nothing surprising about it. Seeing Han Guangxi's questioning gaze, Captain Wang didn't directly say who it was, but vaguely said, Dr. Han, if you want to know, then watch the program Finding Hidden Money. The facts were clear. After understanding the whole story from Han Guangxi, it was indeed the case that Han Guangxi's actions constituted an act of bravery, and she had also reported it to them beforehand. Therefore, Han Guangxi went to the hospital to check on the pregnant woman's condition. As for the Maserati Quattroporte, after careful consideration, Captain Wang still confirmed with his superiors. After all, no autonomous driving system on the market had yet passed the review and officially obtained permission to be driven on the road. However, after Captain Wang reported the matter, he quickly received feedback. The Maserati Quattroporte should return as it was originally supposed to. As for reporting, according to the confidential departments and the military, this was a product they would be using, and it had already passed testing. With these two powerful departments speaking out, there were naturally no problems. Just then, Chen Ming and his companion arrived late in their Ferrari LaFerrari and Koenigsegg. After parking their cars and getting out, they saw Bingbing standing next to the Maserati Quattroporte. Chen Ming was surprised. Someone with such exceptional driving skills was actually a woman. Even more surprising was that this woman was Bingbing, whom he knew well. Chen Ming walked straight over and said, Bingbing, I didn't expect you to be so talented. Your racing skills are amazing. Chapter 139 The successor to racing successors is actually an electronic system. Honestly, Chen Ming wasn't just feigning shock, he was genuinely shocked. Before, he was shocked that someone with even better racing skills than himself had appeared, but now he was shocked that this person was none other than Bingbing. Bingbing, I never expected your driving skills to be so superb. Bingbing, if you are willing to give up your job as a host and dedicate yourself to racing, based on the skills you just demonstrated, I guarantee you'll be able to do it in just 1 year. No, if it were you, it wouldn't even take a year. Give me 3 months, and I can get you into the world of F1 racing, becoming an international F1 driver. You are the future hope and successor of our country. Chen Ming was extremely excited as he said this. His partner's reaction was exactly what he expected. Bingbing was among the best in terms of track planning, vehicle control, and overall racing skills. She possessed limitless potential and a bright future. Lol, this guy seems to have misunderstood something. Judging from his expression, he thinks Bingbing is the driver of the Maserati Quattroporte. I recognize this person. This is Chen Ming, the only Chinese driver to venture into international F1 racing. I'm very curious to see how the Maserati Quattroporte performs with its autonomous driving system. Given his praise, I wonder what his reaction would be if he knew he was praising a system, not a person. Speaking of which, I remember, everyone, don't forget the purpose of our live broadcast. How much do you think this autonomous driving system is worth? I think it's at least 50 million. 50 million. How about this? I'll give you 100 million, you get me one. Anyway, it's at least 500 million, considering those world-renowned tech giants have invested tens or hundreds of billions in autonomous driving. Seeing Chen Ming's misunderstanding, Bingbing said, Chen Ming, you misunderstood. I wasn't driving that Maserati Quattroporte. Hearing what Bingbing said, Chen Ming suddenly realized, I knew it. How could Bingbing have such amazing driving skills? I'd made a mistake. An embarrassed look appeared on Chen Ming's face. This was too embarrassing. Luckily, not many people saw it, otherwise, how would he face others afterwards? Little did Chen Ming know, his performance had been broadcast live, and he was destined to be embarrassed to death. Ha ha ha, Chen Ming's expression is so cute, too embarrassing. I can't bear to watch, never get too excited in the future. Bingbing, I'm sorry, I was too excited and mistook someone else for me. Hearing Chen Ming's embarrassed words, Bingbing waved her hand, pretending not to know his awkwardness, and said, It's okay, I understand. Since it wasn't Bingbing, the only other person standing with a Maserati Quattroporte was Captain Wang. Looking at Captain Wang's uniform, Chen Ming felt that it couldn't possibly be him. Captain Wang noticed Chen Ming's tentative expression and, fearing he might mistake him again, quickly said, "Don't look at me, it's not me." Hearing this, Chen Ming was perplexed. If it wasn't Bingbing, and it wasn't Captain Wang, then who was driving this Maserati Quattroporte? It couldn't be a ghost, could it? Before Chen Ming could think further, the Maserati Quattroporte's autopilot system detected that the mission was complete, removed the clothes from the vehicle, and prepared to return. Beep beep, doors closed, safety precautions. After 2 honks, the Maserati Quattroporte automatically closed its doors under the watchful eyes of the 3. Vehicle starting, please proceed with caution. Next destination, Jinlin Residential Area. According to the plan, the most reasonable distance to the target location is 23.6 kilometers. The estimated arrival time is 15 minutes and 50 seconds. After the message finished playing, the Maserati Quattroporte drove off into the distance under the watchful eyes of the group. Faced with this situation, Director Wang and Bingbing simply stood there quietly, watching it disappear into the distance. Only 2 people, Chen Ming and his friend, stood there dumbfounded, staring at the Maserati Quattroporte that had driven itself into the distance without human intervention. Pointing at the Maserati Quattroporte that had already vanished from their sight, they said incredulously, how could the Maserati Quattroporte move on its own? Chen Ming found this utterly unbelievable. That Maserati Quattroporte is equipped with an autonomous driving system. The driver you just saw was this autonomous driving system. I finished my work, and it's getting late. Captain Wang, Chen Ming, I'll be going now. With that, Bingbing turned and walked towards the car waiting for her by the roadside. I'll continue my shift. Captain Wang also drove back to the branch office for his shift. That super bracing skill just now was actually an autonomous driving system. Isn't autonomous driving technology still in the laboratory testing stage? When did autonomous driving technology develop to this level? It's unbelievable. What's going on in this world? I don't understand it at all. Chen Ming felt his mind was in turmoil, and his feelings were very complicated. The successor he thought he would be was actually an electronic system. Who would believe it if he told them? Chen Ming continued to question his life, while the Maserati Quattroporte smoothly returned to Jinlin Residential Area and parked in the garage. Time quietly passed, and a new day began in the blink of an eye. Ding. Today's technology points have been calculated. The host has earned 50,112 technology points, bringing the host's current total to 100,212. Chapter 140, Suzette. The only person in the country to win all 7 major awards. At this moment, in a top-secret meeting room, 5 elderly men with white hair and youthful faces sat at a table. It was the early hours of the morning. At this hour, everyone should have been asleep, but they were gathered together, clearly indicating something important had happened. One of the elders waited until the others had finished reading their documents before slowly speaking. You are all gathered here. I believe you have all read the intelligence submitted by General Gao and Director Wang. What are your thoughts on this matter? Even though he was over 60, the old man's voice was strong and resolute. This young man named Souza is extraordinary. Such a promising young talent. Young Gao is keeping it a secret, hiding his precious son-in-law from others, not letting them know his excellence. He's afraid we'll poach him. Hearing the old man's words, everyone present smiled knowingly. Although it was said in jest, everyone understood the deeper meaning. He highly valued Suzette. After all, whether it's the initial Mecha technology or the later Sky Eye and Candle Dragon, they are all technologies of great benefit to the country. This Souza is indeed remarkable. I heard that he declined the invitation to join the military because he wanted to be with his wife. In the end, he only served as an advisor to the military and the security department. It's a bit of a pity, a waste of talent, old Lu. That's not right. How is it a pity? No matter what position he holds, as long as he can contribute to the country, that's enough. If you ask me, with these achievements, let alone becoming an academician, even giving him the highest National Science and Technology Award wouldn't be an exaggeration. If you ask me, let's send someone to persuade him again. Maybe Souza has changed his mind now. He is truly a young talent. This person reminds me of Fuchsing. However, this kid Souza has definitely attracted the attention of the United States. We must strengthen his protection to prevent him from falling into the hands of enemy agents. Everyone expressed their own opinions, and after expressing them, the general meaning was similar. They all highly recognized Souza's achievements. After everyone shared their opinions, their gazes all turned to the person in the main seat, awaiting their decisive statement. The other 4, due to their different areas of expertise, were unaware of Suzet's true identity to ensure his absolute secrecy. Only this reputable old man knew Suzet's true situation. For Suzette, the only person in the country to have received 7 major awards, academician status and high-ranking official positions were utterly insignificant. The old man didn't intend to reveal Suzet's identity directly, as doing so would place Suzette under intense public scrutiny. It would be the worst possible course of action, both publicly and privately. However, the old man also didn't intend to cancel the Finding Hidden Money program to protect Suzet's identity. For so many years, Suzette had done countless things for the country in anonymity. Although Suzette didn't care about fame or fortune, or the opinions of others, the old man couldn't allow that. Therefore, the old man decided to go with the flow. He wouldn't stop finding hidden money from uncovering as much information about Suzette as possible. Technology definitely needs to be strictly protected. It's good for young people to have their own ideas. We must respect their decisions and give them enough respect. Everyone understood the old man's meaning. Now that the main theme was set, the rest was simple. As the morning sun rose from the horizon as usual, its rays filtering through the high-quality white silk curtains and illuminating the large bed, as expected, when the clock struck its appointed time, neither Suzette nor Gao Luofei got up, remaining deep in their dreams. Suzette was only awakened by the notification sound. The past 2 days had been incredibly difficult for him. The technology points he could gain each day were fewer than the previous day. This reminded Suzette that 2 days of rest were enough. It was time to get down to business. 2 days ago, Suzette had just spent 1 million technology points from the system to exchange for the complete set of technologies for manufacturing humanoid all-weather combat mechas, including the miniature-controlled arc fusion reactor technology and the inertial damper vibration filtering and protection technology. These technologies were still waiting for him to learn. After learning them, the new technologies he invented, depending on their value, would increase the amount of money in his savings. This would make up for the considerable loss Gao Luofei had caused him these past 2 days, and he could also exchange for more advanced technologies. Turning his head, he looked at Gao Luofei's smiling lips even in her sleep, clearly having a sweet dream. Gao Luofei's delicate, angelic face captivated Suzette. Without waking Gao Luofei, Suzette first left a mark on her forehead, then gently moved himself out of Gao Luofei's arms. Suzette went downstairs, washed up, prepared a hearty breakfast, left a note explaining he was going to work, packed his clothes, and left home. Meanwhile, Gao Luofei, lying in bed, twitched her long eyelashes and opened her still slightly shy and dreamy eyes. Arriving at the garage, the Maserati Quattroporte was already parked there. Suzette got into his old Volkswagen Santana and drove towards the explosive toys company. Although his identity was now exposed, and his work as a toy R&D staff member at Explosive Toys Company was obviously over, he still needed to finish what he started. Even though he wasn't working there anymore, he still had to go through the necessary handover and procedures. As Suzette's Volkswagen Santana left Jinlan residential area, the van carrying Bing Bing and the others from the Finding Hidden Money program was traveling in the opposite direction. Chapter 141 We must seize the mech's data. Meanwhile, at the accident scene, security personnel were also searching the tanker truck's cab. Finally, under the driver's seat, they found a modified old-fashioned mobile phone. After expert analysis, they found a clue within the phone. Using this clue, they quickly located apartment 1201, Unit 3, Building 4, directly opposite the accident site. However, when they entered, Ice Wolf and Red Lotus were already gone, only 2 binoculars remained. Okay, I understand. Seal off the scene, retrieve nearby surveillance footage, continue searching for clues, and capture Ice Wolf at all costs. Upon receiving the order, the security personnel immediately began their operation, sealing off the scene and gathering evidence. Meanwhile, on a distant high-rise building, the escaped Ice Wolf and Red Lotus witnessed everything that happened inside. Alright, stop watching, you'll get caught, Fallen Angel, we've seen the video you sent. Based on the analysis of Exxon and Dr. Harris, the cutting-edge technology this Mecha will master far surpasses the related technologies our country currently possesses. Now, in my capacity as the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region, I order you to acquire the technology related to this Mecha at all costs. Need manpower or money? Just tell me directly. Report any news directly to me in the future. For now, you are only responsible to me, Although Fallen Angel is the leader of Ice Wolf and Red Lotus, she is only a team leader, 2 levels above the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region. It's important to understand that intelligence matters are usually reported up the chain of command. Now, the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region is skipping 2 levels and issuing orders directly to Fallen Angel, which shows just how serious this matter is. Moreover, Fallen Angel is very familiar with the names of Exxon and Dr. Harris. They are household names in the American Academy of Sciences. Having their approval means that the technology mastered in the Mecha is indeed exceptionally advanced. Hearing the stern words of the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region, the Fallen Angel immediately stood up from his office chair and assured the person on the other end of the phone, "Boss, rest assured, I will absolutely complete the task you assigned perfectly." For such an important task, the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region offered a reward to encourage the Fallen Angel to work harder. "Fallen Angel, I remember you've been in Xia Kingdom for 5 years now. If you do well on this, I happen to have a quota for returning home. I can apply for a transfer back to China for you, and even promote you." Hearing Johnson, the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region, say this, the Fallen Angel was overjoyed, his voice filled with excitement as he said, "Boss, rest assured, I will absolutely not let you down. If there's any mistake, please handle it as you see fit. For a spy, especially one based abroad, what is most precious? It's the ability to return home. Back home, there's no need to worry about the danger of their identity being discovered, and their work will be much more convenient." Moreover, judging from Johnson's words, returning home would allow him to advance further. Compared to now, the Fallen Angel had a much brighter future. Although the Fallen Angel knew this mission wouldn't be easy, it would be fraught with difficulties. The promise Johnson made was so tempting that he couldn't resist taking it. He knew he'd regret it for the rest of his life if he didn't seize the opportunity. After hanging up, the Fallen Angel calmed himself down and immediately called Ice Wolf and Red Lotus, who were still on their way to their next hideout. Red Lotus took out her phone, and when she saw it was the Fallen Angel calling, she initially didn't want to answer, but she couldn't. After answering, Red Lotus said into the phone, "Boss, what can I do for you?" Hearing Red Lotus's question, the Fallen Angel replied directly, "Ice Wolf is with you, right, boss? Ice Wolf is with me." Hearing the Fallen Angel's question, Red Lotus glanced at Ice Wolf and said. Upon receiving Hong Lian's reply, the Fallen Angel said solemnly, "Hong Lian, Bing Lang, by order of Johnson, the head of intelligence for the Xia Kingdom region, you two must obtain all relevant technical data related to the Mecha by any means necessary. During the mission, if you have any needs regarding personnel or funding, report them to me, and I will handle it for you immediately. Of course, after the mission is accomplished, the leadership will not forget you. You will not only receive generous rewards, but you may also be transferred back to China to reunite with your families." The Fallen Angel certainly wouldn't tell Bingling and Hong Lian about the opportunity to return home, but that didn't stop him from dangling a carrot in front of them. After all, the Fallen Angel said there was a chance to be transferred back, not that it was certain. Having worked for so long, the two weren't already numb to the Fallen Angel's empty promises. However, since they were in this line of work, even knowing it was just a pie in the sky, they could only continue to carry out orders. "Boss, don't worry, I guarantee the mission will be completed." Hearing Ice Wolf and Crimson Lotus's affirmative answers, the Fallen Angel still added with some concern, "Crimson Lotus, you'll be in charge during the mission. Ice Wolf, follow Crimson Lotus's instructions in everything, understand?" "Understood, boss." Chapter 142 Suze and Gao Luofei's protection level increased. Ice Wolf answered directly. Satisfied with the reply, the Fallen Angel hung up. Seeing the call end, Ice Wolf and Red Lotus relaxed and continued their journey to their hideout. Because of their special identities, to avoid being filmed by cameras, they had to be extremely careful, taking only the least monitored paths. Stumbling and falling, they arrived at their destination only when they were covered in dust and their clothes were soaked with sweat. However, compared to their previous upscale residence, this hideout was quite shabby. Not only was it located in an abandoned urban village, lacking air conditioning and other appliances, but they also slept on creaky wooden plank beds. Looking at this pitiful place, Red Lotus's gaze towards Ice Wolf became even more hostile. If it weren't for Ice Wolf, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Noticing Hong Lian's gaze, Ice Wolf gave an awkward smile, knowing he was in the wrong, and could only say with a forced smile, "Didn't the Fallen Angel say he could fulfill any request? Let him arrange a good location for us tonight." "All right, You know how important the mission is. Let's discuss the plan to find the Mecha data. Hearing what Huang Lian said, Ice Wolf sat down and began to discuss the plan with her. The security department of Xia country will definitely be providing tight protection for Suzette. Shortly after the Fallen Angel relayed the order to Ice Wolf and Huang Lian, Director Wang also received new information. Just like with the United States, the videos showcasing the performance of the Mecha developed by Suzette were more comprehensive and detailed, and were sent to academicians and top military scientists in the field of Mecha. Moreover, with some explanations from academician Li Jianguo, their conclusions were more professional than those of the United States. It is no exaggeration to say that the Mecha technology currently displayed on the Mecha surpasses that of any other country in the world in every aspect. Especially regarding the Mecha's shock absorption technology, academician Li Jianguo was extremely surprised after learning that Suzette had suffered no physical damage whatsoever. This was completely different from what he had expected. He had originally thought Suzette would suffer some damage, but the final result was unexpected. However, Li Jianguo immediately realized that the Mecha must be equipped with very strong shock absorption technology, and he informed the relevant personnel about this. With Suzette's current achievements, he undoubtedly deserves the title of Father of Mecha. Therefore, Suzette's importance as the Father of Mecha is even more prominent. Director Wang was quite certain that the United States, as the planner of this bombing, must also know about the Mecha. They would definitely try every means to obtain technical data related to this Mecha, and judging from their methods, since they could do such a heinous thing regardless of civilian casualties, the danger that Suzette and Gao Luofei were facing must be considerable. Therefore, Director Wang did not hesitate to pick up the phone again and call Guowen, who was currently on the sunny beach. Guowen, who was handling matters on site, heard the secure phone ring. Upon picking it up and seeing it was Director Wang, he immediately stood up straight and said respectfully, "Director Wang, hello, Guowen, I am now entrusting you with a very important mission in the name of the nation." After organizational research, the Mecha technology mastered by Suzette is of epoch-making significance. According to relevant information, besides the United States, other foreign organizations are also aware of the Mecha to varying degrees. They will definitely try every means to obtain technical data and related information about the Mecha from Suzette. Therefore, starting today, all members of your security department's Urban Group 1, put aside your current work and, while ensuring that you do not interfere with Suzette and Gao Luofei's normal operations, do your utmost to protect their personal safety and thwart the conspiracies of other forces. Although it was a mission to protect people, Guowen knew that this mission was far more difficult than others. After all, this time, they were not facing a single organization, but a dozen or even dozens of organizations. Despite the daunting task, Guowen had no intention of backing down. In Guowen's view, the greater the difficulty and pressure, the more excited he would become. Just thinking about taking on dozens of people single-handedly was incredibly challenging. Director Wang, rest assured, I will resolutely complete the mission. However, Director Wang, there's something I need to ask your opinion on. Stop beating around the bush, that's not your style. Speak, what is it, Director Wang? It's like this, Suzette and Gao Luofei are currently filming a program called Finding Hidden Money. Do you think we should suspend this program? Although the program mainly takes place indoors, there are still many people and eyes around. If some unsavory individuals infiltrate the production team, it will be very troublesome. Hearing Guowen's words, Director Wang thought for a moment and replied, that's not necessary for now. However, the identities of any production team members who come into contact with Suzette and Gao Luofei must be verified beforehand to ensure accuracy. Understood. Since Director Wang had said so, Guowen followed his orders. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 The Gao family's ancestral graves are emitting auspicious smoke. After hanging up with Guowen, Director Wang dialed the number again. This time, the person Director Wang wanted to call was none other than Gao Luofei's father, Gao Yuanshan. After all, this matter involved Gao Yuanshan's daughter and son-in-law, and given Gao Yuanshan's status, he was qualified to know about it. Director Wang intended to inform Gao Yuanshan of the situation Suzette and Gao Luofei were facing. When Director Wang made the call, Gao Yuanshan had already completed his trip and was preparing to board a plane back to China. Seeing that it was Director Wang calling, Gao Yuanshan answered the phone immediately and said cheerfully, "Director Wang, what a coincidence. I was just about to call you, but you called first. Oh, Lao Gao, you're such a busy man, calling me. Let me guess, is it related to Luofei and Suzette?" Hearing Gao Yuanshan's words, Director Wang thought for a moment and then made a guess, asking cheerfully, "Director Wang, it's like this, let me say this up front, if Fifei and Suzette commit a crime, you don't need to consider my feelings. Just handle it according to the law." Gao Yuanshan despised those who abused their family connections and power. Even with his own daughter and son-in-law, Gao Yuanshan wouldn't show favoritism or expect leniency. "Old Gao, don't I know what kind of person you are? I know what to do without you telling me, that's good. That's all I have to say." After finishing his business, Gao Yuanshan said to Director Wang, "Director Wang, I finished what I have to say. Is there anything else?" Hearing Gao Yuanshan's words, Director Wang said, "Actually, what I want to tell you is also related to Luofei and Suzette." Hearing Director Wang's words, Gao Yuanshan didn't speak, but waited for Director Wang to continue. "Old Gao, you've really found a good son-in-law this time." Before starting, Director Wang exclaimed. To be honest, when they first learned that Gao Luofei was going to marry Suzette, an ordinary toy designer, many people in the industry who knew Gao Yuanshan felt that the Gao family's choice of such a son-in-law meant their future was doomed. While Director Wang's thoughts weren't as extreme, he also didn't approve of the relationship. The pressure inherent in different social classes is already greater than usual, and with such a vast difference in their status, it was like heaven and earth. The difference between a toad and a swan was an understatement. However, all this pessimism was proven wrong today. Director Wang believed that before long, Suzette's importance would spread throughout the industry, and his status would be incomparable to what it was before. A good son-in-law. Hearing that Director Wang was about to talk about Suzette and Gao Luofei, Gao Yuanshan had a bad feeling. He had already decided that once he returned, he would definitely fly to Hongdu City. If Gao Luofei wasn't involved in Suzette's affair, she should sever ties with Suzette. If she was involved, then Gao Yuanshan wouldn't acknowledge Gao Luofei as his daughter, and she could be dealt with as he saw fit. However, despite all his calculations, Gao Yuanshan never expected Director Wang to pull this stunt. "Good son-in-law," was that a sarcastic remark? Just as Gao Yuanshan was pondering this, Director Wang spoke again. "Old Gao, do you know, your son-in-law did something earth-shattering today. Old Gao, your son-in-law is now recognized by everyone as the father of Mecha. Your daughter really made the right choice in choosing a son-in-law this time." Then, Director Wang recounted the events from Li Jianguo noticing the abnormality in the Mecha's materials to Suzette piloting the Mecha, pulling an oil tanker and saving nearly 40 lives and tens of millions of dollars in assets. He briefly described everything that happened to Gao Yuanshan. Some of the things Director Wang recounted, Gao Yuanshan already knew from Gao Luofei, while others he had just heard. After hearing what Suzette had done, Gao Yuanshan felt a sense of unreality, as if it were a dream. My good-for-nothing son-in-law actually built a real Mecha, saved so many lives, and his technology has been recognized by academicians and top military experts, making him the undisputed father of Mecha. Although it felt somewhat surreal, Gao Yuanshan believed that Director Wang wouldn't lie to him or joke about such a thing. Since it was true, Gao Yuanshan, while re-evaluating his son-in-law Suzette, also said to Director Wang, "Actually, I knew about this a long time ago, but I just didn't tell everyone." Hearing Gao Yuanshan's words, Director Wang bluntly exposed him. "You knew all along? If you knew all along, why did you tell me those things earlier? And with your personality, if you had known, wouldn't you have been bragging about it? Why would your relationship with your son-in-law be so bad?" Chapter 144 Gao Yuanshan accepts Suzette as his son-in-law. Director Wang, you're wrong about that. What do you mean I definitely brag about it? I'm known for being tight-lipped, Gao Yuanshan immediately retorted upon hearing Director Wang's words. It seemed rather incongruous for people over 100 years old and of high status to be arguing like elementary school students. Alright, I won't argue with you anymore, Lao Gao. Now I understand the saying children and grandchildren have their own blessings, Director Wang continued. Lao Gao, if your daughter had married Zhao Yan according to your wishes, then a gem like Suzette would have been missed. Yes, although Zhao Yan was considered quite capable among the younger generation in the circle, both in terms of family background and personal ability, Gao Yuanshan, as a soldier, understood that while Zhao Yan was a top soldier, his importance and future achievements were incomparable to Su Zhen, who could build mechas. After all, a mech on the battlefield was a deadly weapon capable of taking on 1,000 enemies, something a single person couldn't match. Moreover, compared to her impatient attitude towards Zhao Yan since childhood, Gao Luofei's love at first sight for Su Zhen destined their future life to be happier and more fulfilling. Although less than 5 minutes had passed, Gao Yuanshan's attitude towards Su Zhen had completely changed. At this moment, Gao Yuanshan was extremely satisfied with Su Zhen, and he even thought that since Su Zhen's research capabilities were so strong that he was recognized by those research experts as the father of Mecha, wouldn't Su Zhen be able to directly join the military? Gao Yuanshan thought of this and told Director Wang about his idea. Director Wang knew perfectly well that Li Jianguo had recommended Su Zhen, but Su Zhen had refused. Therefore, after hearing Gao Yuanshan's idea, Director Wang immediately said, "Old Gao, your idea is very good, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to achieve." "How is it difficult to achieve? Can't I just go through the normal channels?" With Su Zhen's abilities, it wasn't about going through back channels, but about joining openly and honestly. Even if someone investigated, there would be no shady dealings. "That's not what I meant, Lao Gao. Actually, Lao Li had already planned to recommend your son-in-law to the army as a technical research and development personnel before this, and he even planned to give him a group leader position. Since Lao Li was planning to recommend him, how could it be difficult to achieve?" "Who is Li Jianguo?" "He's an academician who received a national medal." Although Gao Yuanshan also holds a high position, he was very respectful when he saw Li Jianguo. With his recommendation, Su Zhen joining the army as a researcher, even as a group leader, would be more than a piece of cake, wouldn't it? Why does Director Wang say it's difficult to achieve? Unless Su Zhen refuses. That's the only possibility Gao Yuanshan can think of. However, after thinking about this, Gao Yuanshan himself laughed at his own thoughts. This is a direct opportunity to enter the army and become a research and development personnel. Compared to Su Zhen's current job as a toy designer, the difference is enormous. Whether it's salary or social status, they are completely different. Any normal person would know which choice to make without even thinking. "Your son-in-law, Su Zhen, declined old Li's offer." Director Wang's words surprised Gao Yuanshan. "Declined? Director Wang? You're not mistaken, are you?" Even with his seasoned experience and usually composed demeanor, Gao Yuanshan was still puzzled upon hearing this news and asked again for confirmation. "How could I forget something so important? It's like this." Su Zhen considered that if he joined the military as a researcher, he and Gao Luofei would see each other very rarely, sometimes only a few times a year. Therefore, he declined. What Director Wang said was indeed true. The military is a special place. It's not impossible for them to see each other only once a year, let alone a few times a year. Take Gao Yuanshan's own experience, for example. Because of an overseas mission, to prevent his identity from being exposed, he hadn't contacted his wife and daughter, Gao Luofei, for over 2 years. If she hadn't confirmed that he was indeed alright, his daughter would have thought he was dead. Therefore, Gao Yuanshan deeply understood Director Wang's words. However, while he understood, Gao Yuanshan had no choice but to harden his heart when faced with the greater good of the nation. That kid, just for a little romance, he actually refused. Does he know how rare this opportunity is? Gao Yuanshan yelled into the phone. But after venting his emotions, Gao Yuanshan added, "However, as Luofei's father, I admit that Luofei didn't choose the wrong person, that he can think this way." Gao Yuanshan was not only a general but also a father. As a father, hearing Su Zhen's choice, he was happy for Gao Luofei. After all, men who would abandon a promising future for their family are truly rare. At this moment, Gao Yuanshan's attitude towards Su Zhen completely changed. The son-in-law he had previously been somewhat dissatisfied with was now completely pleasing to him. Chapter 145 Su Zhen as military technical advisor. Yuanshan, although Su Zhen declined the invitation, I believe he has a bright future ahead of him. After all, he's the only one who knows the relevant information about Mecha. Director Wang continued. I heard from old Li that although Su Zhen refused to join the army, considering that he is currently the sole master of Mecha technology, they plan to give him an advisory position. While an advisory role isn't a formal job, it's still considered part of the establishment and a decent position. There's no mandatory work requirement, he only helps out when needed. This aligns well with Suze's requirements and won't interfere with his and Gao Luofei's normal life. Although it's an advisory position, whether Suze accepts it or not depends on his agreement. Old Gao, I'll have to trouble you to talk to Luofei about the consultant matter. Hearing what Director Wang said, Gao Yuanshan nodded and said, that's easy, I'll talk to Luofei. Okay, Director Wang, my plane is about to depart, I'll hang up now, we'll talk again when I get back to China. After hanging up with Director Wang, Gao Yuanshan immediately called Gao Luofei. Ring ring. Gao Luofei, who was sitting in the passenger seat, heard her phone ring. She picked it up and saw it was her father, so she answered. Hello, Dad, Suze is alright. Hearing what Gao Luofei said, Gao Yuanshan replied, I've checked with your Uncle Wang, it's good that you're both alright. It's like this, your grandfather's birthday is coming up soon, why don't you bring Suze home for a visit, so our family can have a chat? Hearing Gao Yuanshan's reply, Gao Luofei was overjoyed. The meaning of Gao Yuanshan's words was very clear. As his daughter, Gao Luofei knew that Gao Yuanshan's words meant that he had truly begun to accept Suzette. For Gao Luofei, everything had been wonderful since her marriage to Suzette, except for her father Gao Yuanshan's lack of understanding, which had become a knot in her heart. Now, seeing that this knot was about to be untied, Gao Luofei couldn't be happier. Dad, I understand. Suze and I will go home early. Hearing Gao Luofei's words, Gao Yuanshan continued, Fifei, is Suze with you? Suze is with me, Dad. What's wrong? Is there something you want to tell Suzette? Hearing Gao Yuanshan mention him, Suzette, who was driving, turned his head and glanced at Gao Luofei. Hearing that Suze was there, Gao Yuanshan said, Luofei, it's like this, didn't Suze refuse your grandpa's invitation before, but you know the importance of mechas. As the sole manufacturer of the mechas, the country plans to settle for second best and hire Suze as an advisor. There are no work requirements, he just needs to provide support when the country needs it. Oh, Dad, let me discuss it with Suzette. Hearing what Gao Yuanshan said, Gao Luofei basically understood what he meant. However, Gao Luofei didn't agree immediately, but said directly, Dad, this matter is for Suzette to decide. I'll let you know as soon as I have the results. Okay, Fei, my and your mother's plane is about to take off. Let's talk back in the country. Seeing his secretary signal that the plane was about to take off at the agreed time, Gao Yuanshan told Gao Luofei and then hung up the phone. Gao Yuanshan returned to his seat and fastened his seatbelt. As Gao Yuanshan's wife, Li Ling knew her husband very well. Therefore, seeing that Gao Yuanshan was in a good mood, she asked, Yuanshan, what's making you so happy? Hearing Li Ling's question, Gao Yuanshan simply told her about what had happened that day, without revealing any secrets. After hearing about what had happened between Gao Luofei and Suzette, Li Ling felt a wave of fear. That Suzette was really something, taking such a big risk. What would Fifei have done if something had gone wrong? Hearing Li Ling's complaint, Gao Yuanshan immediately objected, retorting, Li Ling, you're wrong about that. What do you mean by not taking risks? Suze was just doing what a good man should do. Besides, Suze must have been confident before he acted. Hey, Gao Yuanshan, you didn't say that before. I don't know who was always complaining to me, saying Suze was no good, that he couldn't do this or that, and that my daughter had better taste. Hearing Li Ling's teasing, Gao Yuanshan didn't mind, saying, that's right. After all, you don't know whose daughter she is. Gao Luofei was his daughter, so her good taste must have been inherited from him. That's my daughter. While Gao Yuanshan and Li Ling were arguing, the plane slowly started moving, heading towards the motherland. Honey, my dad just called me and said the government is planning to give you an advisory position. There are no fixed working hours or requirements, you can just participate when the country needs your help with certain technologies. I wonder what you think, honey. Hearing what Gao Luofei said, Suze wasn't too surprised by this. Chapter 146 Negotiating the Acquisition of Mech Technology. After all, Suze had been there for so long, and he knew better than anyone how things would ultimately be arranged for him. Indeed, the position of consultant was arguably the most suitable. Suze understood that after today's events, he definitely couldn't stay at the original explosive toys company. And being a consultant wasn't so bad. After all, Suze knew that today's events would definitely draw the attention of many countries. With this identity, Gao Luofei would be safer. Of course, while Suze valued those foreign spies, He was actually quite confident in protecting Gao Luofei's safety. After all, his status as a top scientist wasn't just for show. In fact, without Gao Luofei's knowledge, Suze had modified many things. For example, this Passat that Gao Luofei had converted from a Phaeton. When Gao Luofei gave it to him, Suze noticed it wasn't a Passat, but a Phaeton. He just didn't say anything. What Gao Luofei didn't know was that Suze had secretly modified all four of the family's cars, the Passat, the Ferrari LaFerrari, the Lamborghini, and Gao Luofei's nanny van. While the modifications varied slightly depending on the model, fully automated driving technology and bulletproof shells made from NK-1 tanks were standard features. Suze's fully automated driving technology wasn't just some empty boast, it was the kind that could actually be implemented like in movies. Suze also noticed that Gao Luofei's tone and emotions suggested she was inclined to accept the consultant position. Therefore, Suze nodded and said, "Wife, I agree to the consultant position." Hearing this, Gao Luofei immediately said happily, "Honey, since you agree, I'll tell Dad." Seeing Suze nod, Gao Luofei picked up her phone and sent a WhatsApp message to Gao Yuanshan. "You guys stay in the car and keep watch." After assigning the tasks to his team members, Guoan got out of the car and headed towards Suze's house. Guoan knew that he still had a very important task to complete, buying the Mecha from Suze. When Guoan entered Suze and Gao Luofei's house, he saw Li Jianguo chatting happily with him. Guoan greeted Li Jianguo. Now that everyone was there, academician Li Jianguo said to Suze and Gao Luofei, "Suze, no, I should say Consultant Su, there's something I'd like to discuss with you." Hearing what academician Li Jianguo said, Suze and Gao Luofei exchanged a glance. They both knew very well what Li Jianguo wanted to discuss with Suze. Gao Luofei, coming from a military family, naturally understood how important this matter was. However, Gao Luofei didn't want Suze to overthink things because of her. Therefore, Gao Luofei directly said, "Honey, you talk to Grandpa Li and the others first, I'll go cook." Without waiting for Suze to say anything, Gao Luofei left the storage room. After Gao Luofei left, since the storage room wasn't very private, Suze didn't choose to discuss the Mecha with Li Jianguo and Guoan there. "Academician Li, no need to be so polite, just call me Suze." Hearing Suze's words, Li Jianguo nodded and said, "Okay, Suze." Academician Li, team leader Guo, let's go upstairs to my study to talk. Hearing Suze's words, Li Jianguo and Guoan were overjoyed. Since Suze hadn't refused immediately, it meant there was a possibility of discussing the Mecha. Thinking this, the two followed Suze towards his study. "Academician Li, please have a seat. There are no surveillance cameras or anything like that in my study, so you two don't need to worry about any leaks." After entering the study, Suze locked the door and then asked Li Jianguo and Guoan to sit down. Hearing Suze's words, Guoan, who was originally about to use his equipment to check the room's security, put away the equipment he was holding. If someone else had said this, Guoan would have nodded to indicate that he understood, but he would still have followed the relevant procedures to check. Because some spies' methods are too sophisticated, even if they installed something, the homeowner would definitely not know. There's no way around it. The matters discussed by the security department are all state secrets. If they were leaked and overheard by someone with ulterior motives, the consequences would be unimaginable. But hearing Suze say that the study was safe, Guoan completely believed him. After all, how could someone like Suze, who could even create mechas that only appear in movies, have surveillance cameras installed on him? Academician Li, Suze, you two continue, I'll leave now. Chapter 147 Acquiring Mecha Technology for 1 billion. After speaking, Guoan stood outside the door waiting. Seeing this, Suze didn't say anything. After sitting down, Li Jianguo spoke up. "Suze, I believe you know what I'm about to say. I know you're a straightforward person, so I won't beat around the bush. The thing is, I've seen the mecha's performance today, and it's been an eye-opener. If such mechas could be mass-produced and deployed on the battlefield, the casualties of our country's soldiers would be greatly reduced, and our country's international standing would rise unprecedentedly. In addition, the shock absorption technology and mechanical transmission technology used in the mecha are also epoch-making technologies. If we can thoroughly study them, they will comprehensively change the performance of many of our country's current weapons and equipment. Therefore, Suze, could you please sell the mecha downstairs to the country? Don't worry, We will definitely buy it at a very fair price, Suzette. I've also heard that you built this mecha to protect your wife's safety. Rest assured, after the mecha is purchased, it will fully protect you and your wife's safety, guaranteeing the safety of both of you. After Li Jianguo finished speaking, Suzette pretended to think for a moment before not answering immediately. As mentioned before, the initial type mecha was already outdated technology. For Suzette, given a month, he could digest the complete manufacturing technology of the Phoenix humanoid all-weather combat mecha, and create a mecha far superior to the initial type. Originally, according to Suzette's plan, if this incident hadn't occurred, after obtaining the complete manufacturing technology of the Phoenix humanoid all-weather combat mecha, today, he would have secretly transferred the relevant technology of basic humanoid mecha manufacturing technology to the country. The country would then provide Suzette with ample compensation. Since things have now turned out this way, the original plan naturally cannot be implemented. Therefore, Suzette intends to openly sell the relevant technology of basic humanoid mecha manufacturing technology to the country. As for the initial type mecha, Suzette will not sell it. After all, it would be unwise to sell it now before building a more advanced mecha. Seeing that the time was almost up, Suzette spoke up. I won't sell the mecha. Suzette's words sent a chill down Li Jianguo's spine. If Suzette wouldn't sell, the government couldn't just forcibly take it. Just as Li Jianguo was pondering what to do, Suzette's next words sent his mood soaring. I only have one mecha, and I won't sell it. However, I can transfer the technology used in this initial mecha to the government if the price is right. Ideally, buying the technology directly would be the best option, but considering Suzette's situation, Li Jianguo opted for a less desirable solution, buying the finished mecha. Now, he hadn't bought the mecha, but acquiring the technology from Suzette would be the best outcome. Suzette, I won't say much more. I'll buy the mecha technology for a package deal of 1 billion. Suzette, I know 1 billion is a bit low, but don't worry, this isn't a one-time deal. To be honest, Li Jianguo knew that buying the mecha technology for only 1 billion was far too low and unfair to Suzette. Therefore, Li Jianguo continued, Suzette, this 1 billion is only a part of it. Afterwards, we will convert the value of the mecha technology into shares. And you can own 20% of the shares in the new company, according to estimates from relevant sources, after deducting the normal expenses for factory construction, materials, and staff. You, Suzette, will receive over 1 billion more. Of course, this was just a rough estimate from Li Jianguo. The exact amount would depend on the final profit Suzette received. After hearing Li Jianguo's words, under Li Jianguo's gaze, Suzette made a request. Academician Li, I have only one last request regarding the sale of the technology. Of the 1 billion yuan, 100 million should be deposited in a dedicated bank account, while the remaining 900 million yuan, along with future annual profits, should be deposited in another bank account. Upon hearing Suzette's request, Academician Li Jianguo immediately replied, don't worry, we can fulfill that request. At first, Li Jianguo didn't quite understand Suzette's intentions. But after a moment's thought, he realized that Suzette was planning to hide some money for himself. Chapter 148 Generous Profits. Suzette has hidden money again. Li Jianguo didn't say anything about this. It was a matter between Suzette and Gao Luofei, and as an elder, he wouldn't interfere. Since an agreement had been reached, Li Jianguo instructed Guoan to retrieve the contract. After briefly reviewing the contract and confirming its accuracy, both Li Jianguo and Suzette signed their names. After the contract was signed, Li Jianguo handed 2 bank cards to Suzette. Suzette, these 2 cards, the one from China Construction Bank contains 100 million, and the one from Industrial and Commercial Bank of China contains the remaining 900 million plus any future profits. Suzette took the 2 bank cards. Now that the money had been paid, it was time for Suzette to hand over the technology to Li Jianguo and his group. Hearing what Li Jianguo said, Guoan understood the relevant technology of the mecha. Suzette had sold it for a little over 1 billion. Originally, according to Li Jianguo's idea, wouldn't Suzette have found a very secretive place to store such valuable mecha blueprints? However, the location where Suzette stored them was beyond their expectations. Suzette walked to the bookshelf and began searching through the books. This should be it, he thought, picking up a copy of A Brief History of Time on his left. However, upon opening it, he noticed several diagrams tucked inside. A quick glance revealed it was pocket-sized automatic surveillance camera technology. not Mecha technology, so he set it aside. Everyone knows about surveillance cameras, their devices placed in fixed locations to monitor passers-by. But Souza's technology was different. Simply put, his technology created a surveillance camera capable of automatically locking onto enemies and launching a miniature tracker to automatically track them. Furthermore, it could transmit real-time information to Souza while tracking. This must be it, he thought, picking up a book called Without a Doubt on his right. However, upon opening it, Souza was embarrassed again. He realized he had picked up the wrong book again. Tucked inside, while not some scientific or technological document, was a shopping card. Judging from the appearance of the shopping card, it should be a gift card from the national chain shopping center, Kayanda. Compared to the usual shopping cards worth a couple hundred, or even 2,000 or 3,000, Souza vaguely remembered that this shopping card had a savings balance of around 50 million. Souza couldn't quite remember why it was so high, but it seemed to be a dividend from some company. Seeing Li Jianguo and Guoan staring at him, Souza said with a smile, "Academician Li, Team Leader Guo, please wait a moment, I forgot where I put this." Hearing Souza's words, Li Jianguo felt several black lines appear on his forehead. Such an important item would definitely be of great concern to others, who would want to hide it somewhere that no one could find. But Souza, judging from the look of it, had probably just casually put it in a book on the bookshelf. That was bad enough, but Souza had actually forgotten where he put it and couldn't find it. "Souza, do you remember what it looks like? Do you want us to help you look for it?" Guoan asked Souza, who was busy at work. Hearing Guoan's question, Souza waved his hand and said, "Team Leader Guo, no need, I found it." After searching for a while, Souza finally found a red hard drive hidden behind a book called Science and Technology Records. This hard drive contained data related to the initial generation mech. "Academician Li, this hard drive contains the relevant data about the mech." Souza took the hard drive out of Science and Technology Records and handed it to Academician Li Jianguo, who stood up and walked up to him. Knowing that the hard drive contained knowledge related to the mech, Guoan immediately opened a specially made metal briefcase belonging to the security department. This briefcase was usually used to store valuable materials. Besides needing a password to open it, it would also activate a self-destruct mechanism if it detected any forced entry. Li Jianguo carefully placed the hard drive into the briefcase Guoan had opened, and then Guoan closed and locked the briefcase. After carefully placing the hard drive containing technical data related to the initial mech, which he had purchased for 1 billion, Academician Li Jianguo's peripheral vision was drawn to the Science and Technology Records in Souza's hand. "Souza, may I take a look at this book you're holding?" "Sure." Hearing Academician Li Jianguo's request, Souza handed the Science and Technology Records to him. Chapter 149 Top Scientist Revival as Souza. After receiving Science and Technology Records from Souza, Academician Li Jianguo began to read it carefully. Seeing Academician Li Jianguo's focused expression, Guoan didn't disturb him. Instead, he personally left Souza's study and placed the briefcase into the bulletproof safe of the bus Academician Li Jianguo had arrived in. "Souza, where did you get this book?" Initially, Academician Li Jianguo was only attracted by the book's title, and seeing that it seemed to mention information about superconducting materials, he picked it up for a look. However, what he saw left him utterly astonished. From the section on superconducting materials alone, Academician Li Jianguo discovered that the book's content was closely aligned with the forefront of the world's current research. Moreover, he could confidently say that in some aspects, it went beyond simply keeping up. It had surpassed the existing level in a certain sense. The more Li Jianguo read, the more engrossed he became. While the knowledge in the book wasn't necessarily profound, it gave him new and imaginative ideas about materials research. This was just one article. The book was nearly 10 centimeters thick, and without a table of contents, Li Jianguo couldn't confirm how much scientific and technological content it contained. Flipping through the first and last pages, Li Jianguo found them completely blank, offering no information about the book's author. Therefore, Li Jianguo inquired with Souza about the author of this Science and Technology record. Academician Li Jianguo had only experienced this kind of new insight in his professional field twice before. The last time was 8 years ago. At that time, Academician Li Jianguo was developing a material for aircraft engines, but the research was progressing very poorly, leaving him at a loss. However, by chance, he came across the top-secret scientific journal edited by Revival, A study on aircraft engine materials in that issue instantly cleared his previously clueless mind, and the research progressed at rocket speed. Ultimately, Li Jiangguo exceeded expectations, completing the research task 3 years ahead of schedule. Afterwards, Li Jiangguo inquired about Fuxing but was unable to obtain any information. 8 years have passed since then. Although the Internal Scientific Journal continues to serialize his work, Fuxing's articles are consistently featured prominently in every issue. Each article, though in a different field, is thought-provoking and offers new perspectives on problem-solving. Over the years, countless projects have accelerated their research and development processes thanks to Fuxing's articles. As a recipient of the National Medal, Li Jiangguo can confidently say that Fuxing's contributions are so significant that even 10 national medals would not be sufficient to recognize them. However, the identity of Fuxing, his age, gender, marital status, and other details, remains a closely guarded secret. This secrecy is at the highest level in the country, and very few people know his identity. This is a source of regret for Li Jiangguo, the inability to personally communicate with this remarkable individual. However, what academician Li Jiangguo didn't know was that his inner wish had already been fulfilled. Because Su Zhe was none other than the revival who had yet to reveal his identity. The compiler of this science and technology record was naturally Su Zhe himself. After obtaining the hidden money system, Su Zhe could exchange technology points for knowledge previously unavailable, knowledge far surpassing the technology of this era. After learning this knowledge, Su Zhe combined it with his many years of experience in various fields to compile this book. This science and technology record was of great significance, and releasing it all at once was truly incredible. Therefore, Su Zhe planned to publish one article per week in a national science and technology magazine under the name of Revival, as a small contribution to the country. And now, besides Su Zhe, academician Li Jiangguo was the second person to see the knowledge contained in this book. Upon hearing academician Li Jiangguo's question, Su Zhe naturally couldn't answer truthfully. Instead, he calmly replied, "This was mailed to me by an online friend. We discussed Mecha knowledge, and he thought I had good research talent, so he suggested I read this book more often." Hearing this, academician Li Jiangguo nodded and said, "I see. Then you should take your friend's advice to heart, Su Zhe. This book is quite good. If you can master it, you'll definitely benefit greatly." As he spoke, academician Li Jiangguo returned the book to Su Zhe. It wasn't that academician Li Jiangguo didn't want to read it more, but it was getting late, and he had to catch a flight back to the capital to bring back some much-related materials. "Grandpa Li, take care," Gao Luofei said to Li Jiangguo from the doorway. "Academician Li, please take care." Amidst Su Zhe and Gao Luofei's farewells, academician Li Jiangguo boarded the bus and headed towards the airport. Chapter 150 I hid my secret stash of money for the sake of the country. "Wife, this is for you." After seeing Li Jiangguo off, Su Zhe and Gao Luofei returned home. Su Zhe handed Gao Luofei a bank card with 100 million yuan in it. "What's this?" Gao Luofei asked Su Zhe as she took the card. Although Su Zhe hadn't told her how much money was in the card, Gao Luofei knew from the fact that it was a premium black card issued only to customers with over 100 million yuan in deposits. This bank card Su Zhe had given her contained at least 100 million yuan. Actually, even without Su Zhe saying it, Gao Luofei understood that this bank card must be the money Su Zhe received from selling Mecha technology. "Wife, there's 100 million yuan in this card. It's the reward from selling all the initial Mecha technology to the country. It's all for you," Su Zhe explained when he heard Gao Luofei's question. Today, Su Zhe calculated that, adding up the value of the Mecha, jewelry, and wood carvings, the amount of whose secret stash that Gao Luofei and the others had found was approximately 130 million yuan. Now, Su Zhe has hidden away 900 million of the 1 billion he received from selling Mecha technology as his private stash. So, all things considered, Su Zhe's private stash has actually increased, adding another 770 million. Thinking about the extra technology points he'll receive tomorrow, which he can then exchange for advanced technologies to help the country improve its scientific research capabilities, Su Zhe's face beams with joy. However, compared to Su Zhe's happiness, Gao Luofei's attitude is completely different. Hearing what Su Zhe said, Gao Luofei's beautiful face furrows, and she says with some incomprehension about the price Su Zhe mentioned, "Husband, are you saying that your Mecha technology only sold for 100 million? Although Gao Luofei isn't a professional researcher or an appraisal expert, As a fairly well-informed ordinary person, she understands just how powerful Suze's Mecha is. Even Joe Su, a rich second generation, directly spent 100 million to buy Suze's Mecha. So, the technology capable of mass-producing mechas shouldn't be worth only 100 million, no matter what. This isn't to say Gao Luofei is greedy, but she feels Suze has been bullied by Li Jianguo and Guon, and his technological value is severely underestimated. 100 million, while a huge sum, more than many people could earn in hundreds of lifetimes, doesn't reflect Suze's true worth. Honey, 100 million is definitely too low. I'll call Dad and ask about the situation. Gao Luofei acted swiftly, and seeing her pick up her phone to dial Gao Yuanshan's number, Suze quickly stopped her. He was joking. If that call went through, it would reveal that Suze's technological gains were worth far more than 100 million. If that was exposed, wouldn't the technology points Suze had painstakingly recovered be gone again? If he had fewer technology points, how would he exchange them for more advanced technology? Therefore, Suze absolutely dared not let Gao Luofei make that call. Honey, to be honest, academician Li Jianguo originally planned to offer 1 billion to acquire the Mecha technology. Hearing Suze's words, Gao Luofei didn't press the call button on her phone. She looked up at Suzette, waiting for his explanation. However, honey, you know that although the country is now wealthy and powerful, its expenses in various aspects are still considerable. If I agree to sell the Mecha technology for 1 billion, it would be a burden on the country. Seeing that Gao Luofei's emotions had calmed down, Suze continued. Besides, Dad is also a general. If I ask for a high price, it will be difficult for him, won't it? Therefore, after thinking it over, I took the initiative to lower the price to 100 million. After Suze finished speaking, Gao Luofei put her phone back into her pocket. This time, Gao Luofei's gaze towards Suze completely changed. At this moment, Gao Luofei's eyes were filled with deep love and admiration for Suzette. Under Suze's gaze, Gao Luofei stretched out her slender, fair arms and embraced him tightly, saying, "Husband, you are my hero, you are my great hero." Suze's magnanimity made Gao Luofei feel somewhat ashamed. Indeed, how could such a good person as Grandpa Li possibly bully Suzette and deliberately lower the price of Mecha technology? Wife, you are my hero too. Looking at Gao Luofei, who was so proud of his words, Suze could only silently say in his heart, "Wife, I'm not lying to you, but for the country, for our nation, I have to do this." Just as Suze and Gao Luofei were being affectionate, they heard a commotion outside the door. They then went outside and saw a car with a painting on its exterior driving towards them. A van in front of the truck stopped immediately upon seeing Suze and Gao Luofei emerge. Then, the car door opened, and a well-dressed, smartly dressed man stepped out and walked straight towards Suzette. Upon reaching him, the man respectfully greeted Suzette and Gao Luofei, saying, "Hello, Mr. Su, Ms. Gao, I am Wang Huan, the person in charge of publicity and planning activities at Shaoli Glass Group." Honey, this Mr. Wang is brother son's friend. Suzette didn't know who Wang Huan was, but Gao Luofei did. Therefore, after understanding Wang Huan's identity, Gao Luofei briefly explained the situation to Suzette. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.